Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Batter Round, coming to you from a very cold Saturday morning here on January 15th, 2022. My name is Paul Valley. That's Zach Goodman. He's my co-host today. Thank you for tuning into the Batter Round. Today's show brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. And join Glenn Clark and the NFL chick, Sarita Hubbard, next Sunday, January 23rd at the FanDuel Sportsbook to hang out and watch the day's first playoff game at 3. I might have to do that.
Do it. Go ahead.
Do it.
You were invited.
You're like, you won't do it.
No,
the way you said do it, you won't do it.
You should do it. It'd be fun. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Batter Round. Zach, how are you this morning?
Not bad. It's really cold. I got in my car. I could see my breath half the way until it warmed up. It was crazy cold. I think it was 15 degrees when I got in my car this morning.
When I left to go to the gym this morning, it was...
You went to the gym before this?
Yeah.
That's commitment.
I did some high-intensity interval training.
That's commitment.
The power went out while I was on the treadmill, so I had to go upstairs to the indoor track and finish up there. But it was 19 degrees when I left my house to go do that, and then 17 degrees when I left the gym to come here. And it stayed 17 degrees the entire way.
I'm impressed you went to the gym before a 10 o'clock show. That's a lot of commitment right there. I'm impressed with that.
I do that 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then twice a week I get up at 7:45 and I ride the Peloton, which is hard. The Peloton is hard, man.
Do not have one. I saw Laura tweeting about it a couple times that she bought one, so that's pretty cool.
So Laura bought one. We did not discuss it.
Nice.
But guys, that's kind of how it goes. If I want to make a big purchase, I kind of got to let Laura know. If she wants to make a big purchase, she just does it and then tells me that she did it, which is fine. She's paying for it.
But you get to use it, so it's great.
Yeah. So I definitely use it. I'll tell you, man, I work out my legs pretty hard. You know what I mean? I can squat a fair amount.
You're a fit guy.
Yeah. The Peloton kicks my butt.
Really?
It kicks my butt. A 20-minute ride and my quads are on fire by the end of it.
Is that the one where you have like the instructor telling you what to do and they're telling you, they're yelling at you like push it, and all that stuff?
They're super motivating.
Yeah.
I've only the one, Kendall Toole.
Kendall Toole? Interesting.
She has the same music taste that I do. So, like, she has a 20-minute metal ride, which I love because that's all I listen to when I work out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She had a 20-minute or 30-minute 80s ride and a 20-minute 90s ride, and anybody can play music from those generations or not generations, but from those time periods. But she plays all the songs that I like,
and she just does it well. She just
and she's super motivating. Although. The metal ride, I'm in the first 5 minutes. It's a 7-minute warm-up for a 20-minute ride. So you know how intense this ride's going to be. The entire time she's sitting there, she's like, this is going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done on a bike.
Oh, that's good to know.
She keeps saying it. She's like, get ready. And I was like, you know what? This is like my 5th ride. I'm not ready. So I quit.
There you go.
And I did a different ride that I thought would be significantly easier, and it was still hard.
Okay.
So that's Paul's fitness journey and story today.
You should be on one of those Peloton commercials. I think they would love to have you. To have you.
I would love to be had.
Yeah, you should be had.
if that's a thing.
It'd be great.
Anyway, thanks for indulging us as we go off on a tangent here. But so, Zach, not much news with the Orioles this week, huh?
I mean, more than I expected. I'll say that.
Yeah,
more than I expected.
Right. So, for those who don't know, or if you've been living under a rock, the Orioles moved the left field fence back. They've decided to move it back by as much as 30 feet in some locations.
I heard the number, by the way. The official number is 26. That's what I heard this morning. I can't remember who posted that, but 26 is apparently the number.
It used to be 364 to the gap, and now it's 400.
Yeah.
That's 36 feet.
Oh, okay. I guess maybe it will. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I know Mike Elias talked about on the Zoom call that maybe that the feet that were actually on the wall weren't exactly correct. He said something about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe it's just, really close to being correct. I'm not sure, the exact specifics of it, but he made some kind of inclination towards that. But I don't know.
But then again, it could be that the left center field gap is a little bit further to the right than I'm thinking. Like maybe
yeah.
So 360 because it's 400.
I was going to say
to the far corner,
yeah,
where that wonky 90-degree angle is.
Mm-hmm.
It's 400, and then it's I don't know what the left center gap, if that makes sense, because down the line it stayed 333.
Yeah,
it's still 333 to the foul pole, and then it's a drastic push back. The next measurement is 384.
384. Yeah.
Then the next measurement is 400, and then there's a 90-degree angle. It's a 20-foot wall basically that comes back in. Back down to 380 at that marker, and then it goes back out in the other dimensions. The rest of the field stayed the same. And look, a lot of people have, and also the new left field wall is 12 feet tall rather than 7 feet tall. Here's the thing: people are like, "Oh, they're not going to be able to rob home runs anymore." Where do you see all the home run robberies that I specifically remember are in center field and right center field? I know that there's home run robberies in left field, and I've seen some. The Jackie Bradley Jr. robbery of Trey Mancini, which was in center field.
Yeah.
The Mike Trout robbery was in center field. The Cedric Mullins robbery was in center field. I remember Nick Markakis robbing what would have been a walk-off home run from A.J. Pierzynski, where Gary Thorne, in my opinion, famously said, "Oh, no, he caught it." But that happened in right center field.
Mm-hmm.
The famous home run robberies, with the exception of Mike Devereaux in 1992,
mm-hmm.
have happened in center field and right center field. So I don't think we're missing out too much. And you're still going to see guys climb the wall and take away doubles.
I think if that's your takeaway from this whole thing, we're not going to see home run robberies anymore. Really?
Right.
Something that, I mean, how many actually happen per year?
Right.
And that's obviously
handful.
Right, and that's obviously why they're so special and why people want to see them is because they rarely happen. But is it really something you're gonna really get upset over? I've seen a lot of people really upset over this whole change, and I'm just going, guys, is it really that big of a deal?
Matt Kremnitzer, he keeps
hilarious guy.
He keeps posting stuff like Camden Yards. Top 1 field in baseball. Change the left field wall.
Yeah.
Bottom 1 field in baseball. He keeps saying stuff tongue in cheek because people are freaking out about this. It's not that big of a deal.
It's an absolute meltdown. It's an absolute meltdown.
And if you it's gonna help your pitching staff.
Right.
Jordan Lyles gave up. What was it? 38 home runs last year.
Wasn't it most in the entire league? I think it was.
Yeah, he gave it the most. He threw 180 innings, which was 5th in the league. But he gave up the most home runs in the league.
Right.
And he's a lefty, right?
I don't know.
I think that they have a pretty left-handed starting rotation, and I think that Jordan Lyles is.
He is a righty.
Oh, he's a righty.
Righty.
Okay. So he's a righty. But anyway, he still gave up a ton of home runs. This is only going to help him. Only going to help your
100%.
team. As far as the pitching is concerned, and that's where the big question is: how big of an offensive drop-off are we going to see, and how impacted is Ryan Mountcastle and Austin Hayes going to be?
Right. Your two best pull hitters.
Right. You look at those guys, and look, it's still 333 down the line, so they can still wrap a cheapie around the pole. And the other thing is, Ryan Mountcastle doesn't really hit cheap home runs.
No.
That dude hits bombs.
Hayes more so than Mountcastle.
Yeah, but even still, Hayes will hit one 460.
Sure. I mean, he can crush it too.
If you get one into the power alley, all right, chances are if you hit it well enough to be a home run at Camden Yards before, it's probably – now, there are some that are wall scrapers. Those are the ones where you see the robberies, right? But those are still – generally to the right of where we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get one into the power alley and you get into it, 400 feet, that ball's going over anyway.
Right, exactly.
So for me, is and you might see, so maybe Mountcastle isn't a 40-homer, 30-double guy. Maybe he's a 30-homer, 40-double guy, right? And I would love to see Cedric Mullins hit one to the opposite field,
sure.
have it roll into that corner there.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And see if he can get to third base.
Right.
It's I don't really have an issue with it. I think that the wall is wonky. We covered this longer than I think Glenn wanted to yesterday. It's not a big deal.
That's my takeaway too.
Like people, there might be an injury, but you can have an injury with a normal wall.
Sure.
I mean, we saw Bryce Harper run face first into a wall. We saw a
there was a guy this year who ran
this year.
Was it with the Athletics? I can't remember exactly.
But we saw Marisnik, Jay Marisnik.
Oh, Jake Marisnik. That's what it was.
Jake Marisnik a couple of years ago against the Orioles, he ran face first into a wall. Like this stuff happens
all the time,
regardless. Now, the one thing that I will say is, like, say that maybe for some reason they have Ryan Mountcastle playing left field one day, and there's a ball hit to the gap, and Cedric Mullins is running after it, and then he has to run, and he looks over, and he sees this corner, and he has to turn around the corner to get to that ball. But a ball that's hit there, if it's going to be caught, it should be caught by the left fielder anyway. I mean, that's left field.
I'm not going to say it isn't weird. If you look at the renders that the Orioles sent out yesterday, it looks a little weird. I'm not going to lie. But there are a lot of ballparks around baseball that have very similar features. We were talking about this before the show, but Minute Maid Park in Houston has a very similar feature. PNC Park in Pittsburgh has a very similar feature.
And PNC Park is gorgeous.
And it's a beautiful park. Right. And left field looks a little wonky there. It is. It's not the most perfect looking one, and it's got somewhat of a high wall, and it looks a little different. And people don't care because the place looks amazing. And Camden Yards is still going to look amazing. People are, I think, very worried about changing the beauty of Camden Yards because it is so classic and it just looks so incredible from every angle. And I think people are worried about changing that. And people are always scared of change when it comes to anything. Yeah. I think you look at that, especially like a lot of the older Oriole fans when Mike Elias took over were scared of the change that he might bring. And I think there's a lot of that you're seeing here, that people are just scared to see Camden Yards change at all. But I think this has been needed for many years. I mean, if you look across baseball, there really isn't another ballpark except maybe Yankee Stadium that has this kind of effect on hitters. It just isn't really the way the modern game is with fences this short, and I think it had to be changed.
I think the number was something like 72 more home runs at Camden Yards since it opened than any other ballpark.
Yeah, and that's including
baseball.
Yankee, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they lost 1,000 seats by doing this.
I really want to buy one, by the way.
Yeah, I think they're going to be auctioned off at charity.
Sounds like that.
They're going to go for a pretty penny, probably more than Zach Goodman has as the 20-year-old college student.
Probably.
But you don't remember this because you weren't around. In the mid-'90s when the Orioles were in the playoffs in 96 and 97, they put bleachers on top of the right field scoreboard.
I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, they put bleachers out there. So when the Orioles get good again, and for me for some people it's an if, for me it's a when.
Yeah.
When the Orioles get good again and they're back in playoff contention, if they want those extra seats, they can just put those bleachers right back up on top of that scoreboard.
Easily. Right.
And it's something that they didn't do in 2012, 2014, 2016 when they made the playoffs. They didn't put those bleacher seats on top. They can easily just bring those back.
Easily.
Now, unless it's a safety thing or whatever. I don't know how that works. Maybe that's why they stopped doing it. But losing 1,000 seats to make your ballpark more competitive, and what people the joke is that the Orioles pitching is so bad that rather than get better, they just decide to move the fences. And look, I get it. I get it. Your team gave up 258 home runs last year. In 2019, I believe, they gave up over 300. Yeah. So I get it. However, when I first got wind of this story, my initial reaction was, this is a preemptive strike to be able to lure free agent pitchers here.
I mean, that's what it is.
That's exactly how I took it.
Yeah.
Because Dan Connolly was very adamant about this. If free agent pitchers don't want to come here,
no.
Unless you're giving them a Max Scherzer type deal, they don't want to come here because it could impact their stats and it could impact their next contract.
And people got upset with Dan Connolly for saying that, but he's 100% correct.
100% correct.
Right.
364 to the gap is absurd.
Right.
It's short. That's very, very
short.
You shouldn't be able to hit a ball 368 feet to left center field and round the bases for it.
It's like in right field with Yankee Stadium, where there's just some pop-ups sometimes that guys hit, and this is, it helps the Orioles sometimes too. Mountcastle, I'm sure he reached 30 home runs because of this. Sometimes you hit a ball and it doesn't actually go that far, but you get lucky because the fences are so short, and it had to be changed. They really need that competitive edge there for their pitching. I really think.
Yeah, and I don't even think it gives them a competitive edge. I think it takes away a competitive disadvantage that they've been at for 30 years, right? Because they're basically now in line with the average of the ballparks around baseball.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I recall seeing a 400-foot gap, a 400-foot distance to the gap in left center field. I think that's a little deep. But whatever, man. If you hit a ball with power to the gap, chances are it's going to go over 400 feet anyway. Or you hit it on a line where it wouldn't climb over the fence regardless, and you got a double out of it anyway.
Yep.
And with that wall now, how many times are we going to see a ball hit the back wall, hit the side wall, go back past the left fielder, and then you end up having a triple out of it?
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not going to be an apologist here. I would have liked to have not seen the 90-degree angle wall, but I can't get upset about something I feel like is ultimately going to help the Orioles in the long run. And
Exactly.
And this isn't the first time that they've moved the walls. Now, they only did it one other time. It was in 2001. They moved, and they didn't move the wall. They moved home plate back 7 feet, which made it deeper. I remember it being 340 down the line. And your team, I don't know if this was a direct impact or it says that the Orioles were so bad, but the team leader in home runs in 2001 when they moved home plate back 7 feet, Jay Gibbons and Chris Richard each hit 15 home runs.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, it was like I think it was the fourth or fifth lowest total, or the fourth or fifth time in franchise history dating back to 1954 where the home run leader had less than 20 home runs.
That's got to be almost an MLB record where you have your team leader hit 15. I mean,
it's not, because you go back to the early 1900s in the dead ball era.
But at least in the modern era, that's got to be somewhat
And in
up
1954, the Orioles team leader hit 8 home runs.
Wow.
And then the next year, it was Gus Triandos, and he hit 12. So,
crazy.
It's in the live
game
ball.
has changed.
In the live ball era, yeah, that's got to be down there with some of the lowest totals. But
that's what you just said is a perfect example of why it was important for the Orioles to change the Camden Yards as it is, because the game is changing. Guys are hitting with more distance and more power, and you're giving them, you're giving pitchers such a disadvantage with a wall that's so short and so close up with the guys that have so much power that you're facing every day. I mean, guys like Giancarlo Stanton can hit the ball 500 feet any day of the year. So it's a necessary movement with the way the game is changing.
Well, yeah, you have Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge. You have
those guys weren't around in the 50s.
Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
Right.
Coming into your ballpark licking their chops.
Right.
Because a guy like Giancarlo Stanton, he can hit a pop-up. And with the way that, with the dimensions, the way that they were until now, it could go out at Camden Yards. I've seen him hit balls that look like pop-ups. I remember seeing Mark Reynolds hit balls that look like pop-ups, and they went over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that had to be done to stay competitive in the American League East and to stay competitive in baseball. And it's not like their walls are deeper than everybody else's. They are now in tune with the average of every other stadium in baseball. It's the average. So,
and believe me, the Orioles have run their statistical models, and they've clearly showed themselves that this is going to benefit the Orioles in the long run. I guarantee you that they probably, I don't want to say probably, because they did do this. They went back and they looked at what happened in 2021. They fed it all into the models that they have, the Sigma-Dell models, and they said, if we move this wall back, is it going to positively affect our hitters and positively affect our pitchers? And, does this equate to more wins? And I guarantee you the answer is yes, and that's why they decided to do it.
Oh, 100%. And I'm sure that they took their best hitters and they looked at the average distance of their home runs to left field, and they said, all right, this is the place that we can put the wall that's going to help our pitching staff but not hurt our
like that perfect balance, right?
Yeah, these guys are so analytically driven. There's no way that they didn't find in their mind the perfect number, like that sweet spot,
right? And that this equates to more wins. I mean, that's the overall overarching analysis of this, is that it's going to equate to more wins for the Orioles. That's how they see it,
for sure. So if the Orioles go out this year, and look, they're not going to win more than they lose. That's just not going to be a thing this year. But let's say that the Orioles go out there and win 78 games this year, and that would be like, that's not going to happen either. But if the Orioles go out and win 78 games, are you going to be like, yeah, but that wall, I just
looks horrible.
No, it's just a bad look for baseball.
Exactly.
No, you're gonna say, holy crap, the Orioles just won 78 games. Maybe they can do something next year.
Right.
You're not gonna care.
And Jordan Lyles had an ERA of 3.75. I mean, you look at that kind of stuff, and he gave up less home runs than he did last year, and he threw as many innings. That's the kind of stuff you look at and you go, okay, that's the positive effects of this.
And John Means gave up more home runs than anybody in the American League, I think, the second half of the season when he came back from his injury. So the ball in the Kyle Lewis hit, we've talked about this on GCR a little bit. The ball that Kyle Lewis hit in the no-hitter.
Yep.
That's a home run at Camden Yards.
Every day.
Can you imagine John Means giving up a fly ball like that? That's a home run to ruin his no-hitter?
Right.
It's just, and he even said that he was like, I'm so glad that I did that on the road because
Right.
that would have ruined the no-hitter and the shutout. So look, I feel like this is going to help the Orioles in the long run. Right now, it's change and rabble. We don't like change. Well,
Angelos. I mean, all those guys are coming out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Oh, gotta love the people that come after Angelos, like not realizing he hasn't been running the team for 4 years.
Right. It's always funny to see that. And people come after Elias for this. And I'm going, guys, this is not no one person made this final decision. This is a ball club making the decision. And you can't attack Elias, you can't attack Angelos, you can't attack anyone because
I mean, you can, but you look stupid.
Right. And it's just not factual. That's the way I look at it. It's just not you can't really attack someone for doing this because this is a team they clearly saw that this would equate to more wins. That's what it is what it is.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it.
Right, exactly.
If they were like, "Oh, this isn't going to make a drastic difference," they wouldn't have done it.
I mean, it's going to cost them a lot of money. This is not cheap.
Yeah.
So
and that's the other thing, guys. Everybody thinks the Orioles are cheap.
Hey, that's a good point.
You don't build $25 million Dominican academies and make serious renovations to your ballpark.
Correct.
Now, I think they have some help from the Maryland Stadium Authority.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, they do own the stadium, so.
Yeah. Actually, I don't want to speak out of turn with this, but I wouldn't be surprised to learn that this is completely funded by the Maryland Stadium Authority.
Good chance.
I think that's how this stuff works. But I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. Either way, what the Orioles are doing, God, man, the people that don't believe in Elias, okay, it's true. He hasn't done anything at the major league level.
But that was to be expected at this point.
But
right.
Everything else that he said he was going to do,
he's done.
He's done. You have an international pipeline. You have you have the number one farm system in baseball. You're active in the international pipeline. You have a Dominican Academy that you're building for $25 million.
Yep.
Everything that he said he was going to do, he's doing. Now the next thing is putting a winning product on the ball field,
and that's the real test.
And is he going to be able to do that? And is Brandon Hyde going to be around when that happens?
Yeah.
I find it, and we're going to call Stan in just a few minutes, but I find it weird that they would bring him back for one more year without giving him an opportunity to really show how he can manage a game with talent. To me, I look at this. I don't expect the Orioles to make their team into a contender this year, but I expect them to give him the talent, which I think is one of the reasons why they signed Jordan Lyles. The unique, competent starting pitching. But they also showed a little bit of a willingness to spend some money. Maybe they'll actually give him something that he can put on the field and have a chance to win, and that'll be his real evaluation. Maybe that starts this year.
Maybe the Orioles feel that this year the talent level is going to be significantly higher in the major leagues, that Brandon Hyde actually has something to work with. You get a guy like for $7 million, like Jordan Lyles, and you say, okay, that's a competent starting pitching guy compared to what we've had in the past with a Tom Eshelman or a Wade LeBlanc or whoever it may be. And they say, okay, we're looking a little more competent this year. Let's give Brandon Hyde one more test and see what he looks like. And that's the biggest thing with that. Did we ever get the terms on the extension he got?
It was 1 year.
It was just 1 year. Okay.
Yeah, they
okay.
I had heard that he had maybe had an option for this year, but it turned out it was just an extension.
Then he just signed an extension.
It was just a 1 year extension.
I want to say one more thing about Camden Yards, though. All the people who think the Orioles are moving, they just spent millions and millions of dollars to amend Camden Yards, and you really think they're going to leave that? Why would they spend all that money if they're going to leave in 2 years? That makes no sense.
Right.
Makes none.
And that's and we talked about that a little bit with Stan last week, and he wasn't really having it. Because he knows that the team's not moving.
Sure.
And you and I both know the team's not moving.
Sure.
But there's still people that will still put it out there. Well, I'll see you guys in Nashville.
I've seen it on Twitter 15 times this week already.
Right. and like, why would they spend that kind of money on a ballpark?
Right.
Why would they spend that kind of money on Dominican Academy? Why would they sign a 6-year deal with 98 Rock if they plan on moving the club?
Exactly.
It's just
false.
You use your head here, folks. Today's also the first day of the international signing period. Orioles expected to sign some young prospects by the names of Braylon Tavera, Cesar Prieto, and Leonardo Arias. Zach, you said there's some other guys coming through the pipeline?
There are about 7 others. 3 more confirmed. The 3 confirmed are shortstop Edwin Amparo from the Dominican Republic, outfielder John Mata from Venezuela, catcher Jose Noguera from Venezuela, and then rumored signings from Baseball America are outfielder Juan Carlos Martinez, right-handed pitcher Henry Tejada, shortstop Ellis Cuevas, and then outfielder Thomas Sosa.
Okay, and when we get into Orioles banter, we're going to do on Orioles banter, Dan Connolly put out a quiz for The Athletic about the Orioles and how you feel about the rebuild. Zach and I are going to do that quiz, but I'm going to have Zach talk about these these signings a little bit before we get into that. Once we get into Orioles banter, we also still have Stan coming up here in just a matter of moments. We're going to have Nathan Ruiz from the Baltimore Sun coming up here. Actually, yeah, go ahead and call him. We're going to have Nathan Ruiz coming up from the Baltimore Sun here at 11 o'clock, and sounding off with Zach Goodman just after that. So a big and fun show for us. Two sides met for the CBA negotiations on Thursday. Nothing really came out of it, which was expected. Britt Oriole said the owners will never cede the 6 years of team control for a player, which is something I brought up with her earlier this week. And she basically said, yeah, that's not going to happen. The owners are never going to, and I thought that was going to be the biggest issue. I thought that it was going to be the biggest issue having the players, because the players want out from under team control earlier, and they want to get paid earlier and hit free agency earlier. I think that there is going to be a minimum salary raise, which is something that has happened, that has been talked about. It was actually proposed in this new CBA proposal, where the minimum salary was. I think the Major League Baseball came with a proposal saying minimum salary $600,000 to $700,000. I'm assuming based on performance, which Major League Baseball Players Association shot down. But a lot of things that were brought up that we're going to talk about with Stan here in just a second that were no goes. And with that in mind, let's talk with Stan right now. Stan, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. How you doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Thanks for joining us today. We were talking about the CBA negotiations, and these two sides met with nothing really coming from it on Thursday. Major League Baseball proposed to remove arbitration process for Super 2 players, to pay them it's a small group of Super 2 players. It's basically players that have more than 2 years of experience but less than 3, but they got enough of that service time that they can be eligible for arbitration. So then rather than forcing them into arbitration, they're going to pay them. They offered to pay them based on a formula, which I would imagine would be based on performance. The players shot that down. The players shot down a lot of stuff. You were anticipating
how big a deal would that be to begin with? I mean, you're talking about probably 5 to 8 players a year or something like that.
Yeah, that I don't know about, but it was a significant thing in the article that Evan Drellick put out after the meetings. And basically, Stan, even if it's a handful of players, the Players Association wants all of their guys paid correctly, and the Players Association, they want $775,000 minimum salary that were raised to $875,000 over the course of a deal. And the Major League Baseball came in with $600,000 to $700,000, I guess, based on performance for the league minimum. You didn't expect anything really to come from these meetings, correct?
I didn't really know exactly. After 42 days of no meetings and no proposals being switched back and forth, I didn't know exactly what to expect. But it doesn't sound like the major league owners came in with any real sincere effort to move the ball.
Yeah, I guess the point of the meetings is to get a feel for what you may be able to do and what you're not going to be able to do. But from around the league, what we heard was there were very few people on either side that thought anything was going to come from these meetings, which makes you think, why meet in the first place? If you know that you propose, the only reason would be to gauge what you can do.
How much is how much?
You got the public relations aspect of
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it really is a bad look to get to do a lockout and then not have a meeting for 42 days. I mean, that's a bad look to begin with. So when you say, what's the point of meeting? The point of meeting is to just, you hope that you can get some momentum out of what you present. But again, it doesn't look like it was the owner's best day at all.
Stan, do you think that the players came in almost expecting the owners to have something that they didn't really want to hear? Because that's kind of the way I felt when I heard about all this stuff from Evan Drellick, Jeff Passan, all the different guys reporting on this. They made it sound like the players kind of came in just expecting to dislike the proposal. And I guess they did dislike the proposal because it's pretty far off from what they want. The two sides are very far apart. But how do you feel about, I guess the way the players are coming into this and feeling about this whole thing? Is it a little too negative, do you feel?
Well, I think they want some real substantive change, and there hasn't been any movement on that to date. They want
Right.
substantive change, and the owners sort of like things basically the way they are,
Yeah.
and they haven't really nudged past it. I think a minimum salary, that issue again, it 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 that should be very easy to solve. You know,
Yeah, I agree that that should be easy to solve. Another thing that they're talking about, both sides are on the same
I
page.
mean, you're not talking about to raise it from $600 to $775,000 is not again that much money when you figure out how many players are affected by it each year. You know,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that that's something that they could easily come to an agreement on. I think that they could easily come to agreement on the lottery for the draft.
Right.
They both seem to be on the same page. They want to install a lottery for this draft. The Players Association wants it for the top 8 picks. Major League Baseball wants it for the top 3 picks. How do you not just come to a compromise and say, fine, we'll do it for the top 5 picks? Like, why don't you
right?
just meet somewhere in the middle? I don't. And it's funny, Stan, because you said they met for PR for the PR hit that they would take if they don't meet. But the whole thing is a PR hit when you look at it, because it's squabbling over things that really should be easy to, for me anyway, to figure out. I guess on the outside looking, when you're in the middle of it, maybe it feels I guess it certainly feels different. But to me, these are issues that you should be able to find some middle ground, and they just aren't doing it.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you.
Now,
I
hopefully,
mean, the owners are going to have to, what happens in these games is it's a little bit of a case of like chicken. Who's going to blink first? And the Players Association does not really appear that they're ready to blink. And the owners are betting on the clock, starting to, have players miss checks. Um, as it gets closer to that reality, they hope that the Players Association will blink first. I don't think it's going to happen this time.
I saw somebody use the analogy the other day on social media where they said, when I was in college, I would have weeks to do a term paper, and I would wait till the night before to do the paper and get it done. And he said that that's basically what these negotiations are.
That's
are
exactly
like.
what this feels like.
It's you have all this
Well,
time.
that's basically what negotiations are all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You have all this time to get it done, and they're going to wait till the last minute. With that in mind, where do you see them? What's the last minute to them? Is I guess what I'm asking. Is it just before spring training? Is it around March 1st, so they still get 4 weeks of spring training? And do we expect any regular season games to be? Do you expect any regular season games to be impacted by this?
I think the fact that they've made up such, the one positive is we've we've established that they really aren't that, they shouldn't be that far apart on things.
Yeah.
The Super 2 issue shouldn't be that big a deal. It doesn't affect that many players in any one season. The minimum salary doesn't seem like it should be that big an obstacle. So I mean that's the positives is that in 2 weeks from now they could possibly like go, okay, let's check this box. Let's do just what you said. Let's meet in the middle on the lottery system. So it doesn't really take that long. But again, when you deal with the psychology of what's going on, it really seems like it could be a while. And I'm not ready to say that because these things can turn on a dime a little bit, where all of a sudden one side says, hey, we're really getting down to nut crunching time here. So I'd say if there's no movement in the next 2 weeks, I'd say we're real close then to losing some games.
Stan, I got an email last night that made me think about things a little bit. I got an email from the Orioles where they're essentially saying that spring 2022 training 2022 tickets are on sale starting today at 10 a.m.
Right.
Do you think it's telling at all that they're sending out emails trying to get people to buy their tickets with the dates, of February 26th as the first game? Is that at all, does that inspire any confidence in you at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah, they were saying.
I just don't. I don't. Do you expect an awful lot of people right now to be making plans, to lay out a couple $1,000s for tickets and a hotel and airfare. I think everybody's paused on all that, but
It's
they
true.
can't. You can't start that. It's kind of like a player in the old days. Brooks Robinson used to always be moving forward when the pitch was thrown. You have to have everything in motion as if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you've got the ability to start it very quickly.
Last off season, the Orioles contacted me in October about getting tickets for the 2021 season before we even knew if the season would start on time, what impact COVID was going to have for the second straight year. That's just business as usual for them. That's what they're supposed to do. I wouldn't read anything into that. Now, Stan, it seems like one of the issues here, from the things that I've been reading, is that the major league owners, they seem to really want to only have to pay the players based on performance. Now, of course, there's your league minimum, but they're proposing a league minimum would be $600,000 to $700,000 based on a formula, which you would imagine would be performance based, and they wanted to go through the arbitration process and have your raise, which it's already performance based, but they want to go by wins above replacement to do that. And it seems like the players' big pushback is, well, no, it's never been that way. We want you to pay us what we've earned for our service time rather than how we perform on the field. Now, you can't go out and hit 220 with 10 home runs and expect to get a raise from $1 million to $9 million in a season. But do you think that maybe that the owners need to pull back a little bit on that and stop trying to make things performance-based? Because it seems like that's really where their head's at right now.
I don't have a great sense of that and its importance to the owners. I just don't have a great sense of it.
Fair enough. Now, switching gears here a little bit, we talked about this the other day. The Orioles have moved the left field wall back as much as 30 feet in some places. You're looking in the power alley, it's 400 feet, 384 to the right of the line. It's still 333 down the line. The new wall is 12 feet high, and you have a 90-degree angled wall by the bullpen that's in the field of play. What are your thoughts on the renderings that came out yesterday? Were you able to see any of those?
Yeah, I was sat in on the press conference, and I saw the renderings afterwards. I had not seen the renderings prior.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? People are really up in arms about this. I feel like that this is only something that, in the long run, helps the Orioles. What are your thoughts on the new wall?
Until I'm really in the ballpark and see it, I mean, I'm not going to get an incredible sense of it from these renderings. I mean, they didn't do much for me.
Yeah. So how about?
To me, we're talking about nooks and crannies,
right.
And that's one of the things I would say from the first time I walked into that ballpark. As spectacular as the entire project is, the actual look of the playing field has always been kind of bland to me. It doesn't conjure up any excitement to me at all. And this looks like it might start to do that, but I don't quite get what it's going to look like yet.
Right. Now, with the pushback of the dimensions, and again, 384 to dead left field, not down the line, but 384 to the right of the line, 400 to the gap. How impactful is that going to be on the Orioles' offense? What players do you think are going to be impacted the most by this, and how badly do you think that this ultimately hurts the Orioles on offense?
First of all, I don't think it's being done for that purpose.
Right.
So it's not a topic that I think is real essential. Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be great for Ryan Mountcastle, Trey Mancini, Austin Hayes. I'm sure it's not going to be great for them. But I don't think that the project's being moved forward with the idea of it helping or hurting Oriole players. I think they think it's going to be a more entertaining product.
Stan, I don't remember where I saw this, but I saw someone say that they basically talk about the average fly ball distance for, I guess, a home run by 3 different guys. It was Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle, and then Austin Hayes. Hayes and Mountcastle were around the 335 mark, and then Trey Mancini was around 357. So, quite short of that 384, and obviously quite short of that 400. Do you think we see a massive drop-off in home runs? Do you think we see just a moderate drop-off? Or do you think guys will kind of adapt to the park and start to maybe change their swing a little bit to help them hit the ball farther?
Again, I don't have a great, I'm
Fair
sorry to answer. I don't have a great sense of that,
Fair enough.
how quickly players can adapt. I think we're going to have to watch it for a while to see how it's affecting things.
My first reaction when I saw this, Stan, was that this is going to give the Orioles a better opportunity to lure starting pitching free agents to the ball club. A lot of players don't want to come here, and Dan Connolly's been very vocal about it for the Athletics, saying starting pitching is not going to sign here because they don't want to sign a contract to play in a bandbox and play in the American League East, which is filled with bandboxes. Do you think that this has a positive impact on getting free agent starting pitchers here in the future?
I don't think, again, I asked the question yesterday at the press conference. I said, the ballpark's entering its 30th year. And I essentially said that the pitching we've had from say 1998 to 2010 or 11 was pretty horseshit. And we also have had kind of horseshit pitching the last 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
So out of 29 years that the park's existed, the Baltimore Orioles have had really substandard pitching for about 18 of those years.
Yep.
Okay. And they say that their numbers take that into account, that the amount of home runs isn't that significantly skewed by how bad the Oriole pitching has been, that it affects both clubs. So that's the question I had answered yesterday, because to me, when Dan Straley was pitching for the Orioles for those 10, 12 weeks, it didn't seem like you could have put a 80-foot wall and knocked it back 40, 50 feet, and he was still going to be giving up home runs.
Yeah.
But until we see it in action, I'm not going to be able to really come up and tell you how it's going to play, or how it's going to impact. To me, the pitchers that haven't come to the Orioles over the last couple of years have been because they haven't been offered any money.
Yeah, no, that's true. The Orioles haven't even made an attempt in the past.
If you had somebody like anywhere near a Max Scherzer, say, well, nah, I just didn't want to pitch in that ballpark. I've never heard that. And when I watched the ballpark, when Scott Erickson, Mike Mussina, and Jimmy Key were pitching really good baseball, I don't recall thinking that, boy, the ballpark is that hard. When Chris Tillman and Chen and a couple other guys they had, even that guy that the tall right-hander that Dan Duquette picked up.
Mark Hendrickson?
No. He's a right-handed pitcher. Hendrickson was left-handed.
Oh, he was a lefty. That's right.
He was a starting pitcher for about 3 years.
You're not talking about Ubaldo Jimenez, are you?
No.
Miguel Gonzalez?
When those guys were pitching, it's not that important that we get stuck on who that player is.
Right.
When he was pitching well, it's just not going to be that big a factor.
Yeah, well, if you can pitch, you can pitch, and you can pitch in any
That's
ballpark.
That's what I'm saying. If you can pitch, you can pitch.
And the fact of the matter is, like you said, and like you've been alluding to, the Orioles have had a number of guys who just can't pitch, pitching for them for the last 30 years. The fact that you can name on one hand the prominent starters for this team that were here for a bit on one hand is pretty remarkable to me. So, no, I tend to agree with you, Stan. You can pitch in any ballpark in the major leagues if you're a good pitcher. You don't see Garrett Cole come in here and get lit up because the Orioles...
Yeah, I'm sure if the Orioles were offering Garrett Cole $1 more than he got with the Yankees, they would have been in the hunt to sign him.
Right. That's what it comes down to. So, and somebody said, if you had... Pitchers pitch because of money. If you offer a pitcher the most money out of everybody. He'll pitch in a little league park if you need him to.
Yep.
So I don't think it is necessarily true all the time that I agree with the notion that if you can pitch, you can pitch. I totally agree with that. But I also think there's a stereotype around baseball, and it's probably well known by many of the starting pitchers around baseball, that Oriole Park is small and that it's not that easy to pitch in. And even if it's maybe not the most true thing in the world, where it's not as a big effect as maybe people think it is, and that's why stereotypes always get kind of blown out of proportion, it still has an effect on who signs here because of the stereotype that goes around it and the amount of people that probably talk about it. A Yankees pitcher, if he's pitched in the AL East for long enough, will say, oh, I've pitched in Camden Yards this many times, and it's a small ballpark, and that kind of word gets around a little bit. So I think that's kind of the effect that Camden Yards has kind of had, and I think maybe now that dispels this rumor about the really, really small ballpark that it is. That's my take.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a perception thing.
Perception for sure.
It starts, and then 3-4 years from now, they'll be able to have numbers that can refute,
right.
That
Exactly.
it's a hard ballpark to pitch.
Stan,
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And like I say, to me, this is about creating the sense that when you go to the ballpark, something a little more exciting can happen.
I agree, and the people that are getting up in arms, well, guess what is happening? They're not going to they're not going to move it back. So either get on board or find another team. Honestly.
When you're drawing 700,000 people, I think your problems are much more significant than the nooks and the crannies issue.
Yeah.
But I think it's got a chance to move the ballpark and make some things a little bit more entertaining.
Absolutely. Stan, what do you have coming up this week?
Got Jim Palmer coming up on Monday, the ace of class, number 22, Hall of Famer. He'll join us at 8 o'clock rather than 6 o'clock because he's out on the West Coast and he had some things he had to take care of earlier.
Gotcha.
But it'll be him on Monday. And Thursday, I am looking at my desk, and if you guys saw it, wait a minute, no, here it is. We're going to have on Elliot Steinmetz, and Elliot Steinmetz is the Yeshiva University coach, and their ball club just won some kind of incredible number of games in a row. And about a month ago, Gary Stein mentioned what the number was. They have since lost a game, but we're going to have Elliot Steinmetz on. And I think you might even know this, Zach. Does that name ring a bell, the last name? Apparently his son, Gary told me, was drafted in this year's baseball draft.
It does not ring a bell with me, no. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's who we've got Monday and Thursday of this week.
All right, absolutely. We're looking forward to it. Everybody, you can follow Stan at Stan the Fan on Twitter. Stan, thank you so much for joining us again this
All right,
week. We'll
guys.
talk next
Thank
week.
you very much, and have a good show.
You do the same. Bye-bye.
I just told Stan to have a good show himself. He does have 2 shows coming up this week. So
right.
and one's with Jim Palmer.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I want him to have a good show. That was Stan the Fan Charles. And like we said, he has 2 great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Wednesday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross caught up with Orioles legend and Masson analyst Ben McDonald. Then Stan caught up with Baltimore Blast owner Ed Hale. Find the show under the videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Coming up on Monday, like Stan just said, you really don't want to miss this one. When Stan and Ross are going to catch up with Hall of Famer Jim Palmer at 8 p.m. We're going to catch a break. When we come back, we're going to do a little bit of sounding off before we talk to Nathan Ruiz.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Need to hone your computer skills to boost your career? Or maybe you want an IT certification. CCBC Continuing Education has the courses and programs you need for a career in the computer field. And it's all tuition free. From the basics to specialized training, we have the classes you need, from hardware to programming to cybersecurity and so much more. It's your choice. It's your career. Call 443-840-4700 or visit ccbcmd.edu/computer training.
Glory Days Grill's winter seasonal menu is back with comfort classics like their house-made meatloaf and short rib grilled cheese. It also features the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, grilled meatloaf sandwich, smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. All of these items pair well with Devil's Backbone 8-point IPA or their anniversary IPA brewed by Devil's Backbone. And try their seasonal cocktails, Blood Orange Bourbon Cider, Apple Ginger Mule, and Captain's Hot Cider. Find out more and get your order in today at glorydaysgrill.com. Great food, good sports.
Hey guys, it's Paul Valley, and there's a new era of Glenn Clark Radio as I've joined Glenn every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon. There will be some changes, but what won't change is the absolute best daily discussion of Baltimore sports.
New Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Trey Mancini.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
He is Kevin Zeitler.
Thank you. Very happy to be a part of this.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Quarterback for the University of Maryland, Talia Tagovailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
Coach Mark Turgeon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
You can watch us live at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
All right, welcome back to the Bat Around. You know what? We're gonna hold off on sounding off because this is too good. This is too good, and we have to address this. There is a gentleman commenting on the show on YouTube, just going bananas right now.
He's not very happy with us.
He is. He blamed Zach and I. He said it's going to be Zach's and my fault when Mike Elias gets fired in 5 years, and that we're wrong, and that we're basically idiots, and that
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
right, and that the Orioles built this wall as an excuse to alienate fans so they can eventually move the team to Tennessee. And look, we don't want to give people like this.
They're not going to Tennessee, though. They're not going to Tennessee. Let's just address that right off the bat. They are not moving to Tennessee.
They're not moving to Tennessee.
No.
But for this guy, and he and I share the same first name, Paul, calm down, man. One. And two, if the Orioles go out and play winning baseball, and they're not going to do that this year, we know that. But if they go out and they play baseball competitively, and then in 2023 they're 500, in 2024 they're in contention for a playoff spot, and in 2025 maybe they get to a World Series, you're not going to give a damn about what the field looks like.
Mm-hmm.
The field could be made of asphalt with chain link fence, and you are not going to care because the Orioles are winning. And the fact that us talking about this wall and saying, hey, we're not giving it a ringing endorsement. We're not sitting here saying this wall is the greatest thing to ever happen to Camden Yards and to the Orioles, and all of a sudden the Orioles are in contention with the Yankees because they moved this wall and it's 12 feet tall. We're not saying that.
We're just being realistic.
We're saying it's not that big of a freaking deal.
Yeah.
It's not big enough of, it's not big enough of a deal for these reactions. It's a wall, man.
Well, he's not the only one to share this sentiment because there's a lot of people who think the exact same thing, that they're just losing their minds. I don't know if you know who he is, but Zach Hampel. Do you know Zach Hampel?
I don't. I know Zach Goodman.
Good. Zach Hampel is a guy who's caught over like 10,000 baseballs, and he caught Alex Rodriguez's 3,000th hit. He caught Mike Trout's first home run. He loves going around and catching baseballs. He has like 10,000 of them. I'm serious with this guy. He has a YouTube channel. It's pretty interesting, but He was going off
What's
on Twitter.
he do with all those balls?
I think he like gives them away to like kids and charities and stuff like that.
Well, that's a sweet thing. to
Yeah,
do.
no, he's not but my point of this is he went on Twitter yesterday and he was livid. Camden Yards he's made very well known that it's his favorite ballpark and that he thinks that he catches, I guess, more balls at Camden Yards than anywhere else due to the kindness of the Orioles' hearts, I guess. But he was going off about how someone's going to impale themselves on this wall and how it's an abomination of baseball and how the Orioles should be horrified at this. I mean, he was just losing his mind. And I'm going, guys,
Okay.
it's not that big of a deal. Right?
These walls, okay, yeah, the wall is not it's not made of like wet paper, right? So it's not like you're gonna hit it and not hurt yourself if you run into it.
They're made of concrete, yeah.
But they have padding. But the corner isn't made of shards of glass. It's not made of straight steel with a point on it. You're not getting impaled if you run into that
Right,
wall.
right.
You might break a rib, and that's going to suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you might break your nose. But that's true of any wall in baseball. If you're not looking where you're going when you're running and you run into the wall,
Exactly.
that's what happens.
I mean, it is a concrete wall. That's what you should expect to happen when you run into
How
it.
many times have you seen somebody run into that 90-degree wall that they have in center field in Boston?
Oh, so many times.
I don't ever recall somebody running into the
Oh,
wall.
I've definitely seen it. Guys, definitely, I mean, people run into it, but they don't get, like, impaled.
Right. I don't recall seeing somebody run into the concrete wall in Houston in left center field.
Yeah, I mean...
I recall seeing
I can
guys
see
run
it-
face first into the center field wall, running back on a ball.
I can see it in my head of guys running into it in Fenway, just because I guess the ballpark's been around so long. I have
Well, I
those
think that
memories in
that
my head.
maybe
I
what
don't know with
you're-
Houston, though.
Maybe what you're remembering is somebody going to, like Jackie Bradley Jr. going to make a catch.
Yes.
And the wall takes his knees out as he's leaping.
Bradley has a specific place in my head with that. Yeah.
Right. But that's
it's not
but that's-
impaling him.
but
He's
that-
fine.
But that's not at the angle. That's
Right.
where the wall is normal, and he's going back trying to catch a ball, and that wall is so specifically low, it's like waist high.
Right.
That you're going to flip over it. I'm talking about in center field where there's like a garage out there.
Right, yeah, I know
and
exactly what you mean.
There's
Yep.
an angle. I don't ever recall seeing somebody tracking a ball and running face first into that wall and impaling themselves.
No.
I've never seen that because it's not a thing. It's not like a legit.
Definitely guys falling over that fence in right center. That's what I'm thinking of.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's a thing. But like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't see it happen once this year, where somebody runs into that wall.
Well, because I mean, think about the hit that have to be that specific to be there.
Right.
I mean, they'd have that's a really small chance.
And on top of that, the Orioles are going to. It's their home field. We got a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't need them until.
Oh, this computer's wrong. That's
right.
what.
You
Right.
gotta keep looking at that.
I'm at the wrong time.
But this is the Orioles' home field, so you know they're going to get practice on that field. They even on their off days, they show up to the ballpark for practice. So they're going to get used to that field and know the dimensions of it. So
Right.
And the bad thing is that there are no plans right now to change the Camden Yards field in Sarasota for this year. That's something I think that they're going to have to do in the future. But I think it's like one project at a time regarding stadium. So I don't think they're going to do that in Sarasota this year.
And at all costs. So
Yeah, but it's going to happen eventually. I am really not concerned with somebody running into that wall. I just am not. My bigger concern is somebody trying to chase down a ball and having to make a right hand turn to get around it.
Right.
Which is, if your center fielder is the one making that play to begin with,
Right.
where is your left fielder? Is he playing in foul territory? Like, where is he?
Right.
But like,
I don't know why too. All the blame on this, if you don't like it, which again a lot of people don't, is being heaped on Elias. I just don't understand
dude,
that.
It's
Why-
the in thing to do with the Orioles.
Right,
It's let's hate the ownership and let's hate Mike Elias and look.
You don't have to agree with everything, and we don't agree with everything he does. Not at all.
For 100%. I didn't agree with the way that they approached their pitching staff last year.
Right.
I didn't agree with signing nobody except for Matt Harvey to be in your and Wade LeBlanc and maybe Felix Hernandez to be in your starting rotation.
Right.
And
If I'm being honest, I would have picked Cleo Watson over Colton Cowser. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I don't agree with saying, hey, we think we might have something with these rookies,
Right.
and let's do nothing as a contingency plan.
Exactly.
Which is what they did.
Right.
We're not here to sing Mike Elias's praises and say that this is the be all end all and this is the guy. I think he is the guy, but everybody has missteps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this wall is a misstep, and I don't think anybody is going to think about it
3 months into the season.
No, you're gonna forget about it. You're gonna go to the ballpark once. You're gonna see it and go, "Hey, that looks new," and then go, "Great." That's it.
It's gonna
right?
be.
I mean,
I had to get to the ballpark to see this wall. You see it once, you're like, that's a wall.
Are you really gonna?
That sure is a wall.
Right, it looks like a nice ball. I mean, if Ryan Mountcastle hits a fly ball that goes 350 feet and doesn't make it out, and are you really gonna sit there and go, "Man, that would have gone out if they hadn't changed that wall"?
Some are.
I mean,
some are.
probably some people will.
Somebody will hit a deep fly ball that's going to be caught on the warning track for the Orioles, and people are going to say, "Well, that would have been a home run if you hadn't changed the ballpark." All right, man. Fine. Sure, it's going to take away some home runs from people. It's going to take some home runs away from the opposition also, and I think it's going to get free agents to be more inclined to sign here. It's just like people being so up in arms about this stuff, man. It's bonkers to me, and honestly, that's the effect of a lockout. There's
100%.
That's the effect of a lockout when there's no baseball, there's no off season being active. There's no activity in the offseason. Nobody's being signed.
Right.
You don't know if you're going to have spring training.
Right.
The Orioles are pushing their wall back, and they're making it taller. Rabble, rabble, rabble. That's
Right.
what this is.
Right.
You have nothing else to do because there's nothing going on in baseball.
Well, I mean, if free agency was happening right now, the meltdown would be why Mike Elias isn't signing, Max Scherzer. I mean,
this team signed this pitcher for $5 million.
Right.
The Orioles could have signed him. Why didn't they sign him? Instead, you're mad about a wall. Right. We have Nathan Ruiz on the line from the Baltimore Sun, who's kind enough to join us despite a busy Saturday here for the Orioles. Nathan, thanks for taking a couple minutes for us this morning. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We certainly appreciate you joining the program. Look, we've been talking all morning about this wall being pushed back, and people
What
are
wall?
like,
What wall are you talking about? I'm very confused. What wall?
the Great Wall Chinese restaurant. They raise their prices, and people are really upset about it. No, people are up in arms about this wall being pushed back and the height being raised, and I just don't get it. Like I'm under the belief that 3 months into the season, people aren't going to care anymore. Where are you with this whole thing?
Yeah, I think what you guys were talking about right before I came on, just in terms of there's not a whole lot else going on, and this is news in a time where there isn't a whole lot of it. Yeah, it's definitely something I think that people would be talking about under other circumstances. It is interesting. It is different. It's a big change. You look at the 30-year history of the ballpark. There's only been one other year where the dimensions have been different. Otherwise, it's been 333 to left, 364 to left center, 7-foot, 4-inch wall. This is kind of just what it's always been. And so I get the traditional aspect. People I think are also a little perplexed, surprised by the layout, the new dimensions in terms of just leaving the bullpens where they are and having that, basically just a jut out in the middle of the field and the impact that might have. Yeah, I think it's definitely unique. It's definitely different, but you look at everything else that this organization has done under Mike Elias and Sig Mejdal is, they're trying to find a way to build a sustainable winner, and they believe that creating a more balanced ballpark will do that. They did their research. They considered other alternatives. They did the math, and they determined that the best way to have the outcome they were hoping for in terms of balancing the ballpark and making it more league average in terms of home runs allowed, it was to move this wall back. And the height of the wall is kind of just like a natural byproduct of that. You move back the stadium bowl, that's where things line up. So fans are still sitting, front row above the field. So it's just kind of a natural result of things. But yeah, I get why people are up in arms about it, to the extent that there isn't anything else going on right now to be up in arms about.
Now, you wrote in the Baltimore Sun about how the players that could be impacted the most by this change. Hayes and Mountcastle would have had some of their home runs taken away, but Means would have given up less home runs. Is the trade-off for lesser offense but better pitching worth the change, in your opinion?
I think when you look at especially how the Orioles in particular are developing their roster, when you look at the drafts under Mike Elias, it's been very hitter-heavy, and the types of hitters that they go after are guys who work the count, look for pitches they can do damage on, and take their walks. Like, they're the type of hitters who I think over the course of this are going to be the type of hitters who benefit, or not necessarily benefit, but aren't as impacted in the same way as maybe some other hitters would be. They're still going to get on base. They're still going to drive the ball to the gap. They're still going to get extra base hits. So I think the way they're building their organization, the kind of hitters they've focused on, I think they're the type of hitters who while any hitter would be impacted by this situation, will be able to minimize that impact. I also think you look at what they've had pitching-wise, it's going to be a benefit. Michael Elias said yesterday they're not trying to do any favors to pitchers, but naturally by trying to make a ballpark less home run susceptible, you're doing benefits for pitchers. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the long-term effects. They weren't really willing to dive into the exact numbers of what their projections said, especially because, as Sig said, those things change depending on what ball Major League Baseball is asking them to use, and something as simple as global warming. Not really simple global warming, but you get what I mean. It's just in terms of there's a lot of things out of their control still, so they weren't exactly sure. They didn't want to say, oh, we think this will reduce home runs by 25% or 15% or even 5%. They didn't want to detail the numbers, but clearly they had a target in mind and determined this was the best way to do that.
Now, I do think that part of this is the fact that the Orioles gave up over 300 home runs in 2019. They gave up 258 last year to lead the league. But I think more so, it's because this is how you're going to attract starting pitching through free agency. Do you think there's something to that? Or you really think it just is because the Orioles give up too many home runs?
Well, I think that's a factor too. And Michael Elias, immediately admitted to that when asked. He said that is a significant factor in this, is that this organization has historically had issues drawing free agent pitchers. And it's understandable. You look at the numbers over the last 5 years, Camden Yards, at Camden Yards, visiting pitchers have given up the third most home runs of any ballpark. So it's not just an Orioles problem. The teams that are first and second in that are the Yankees, which obviously, they have the short porch and right, but they're also a team that has, a contending lineup. And then second is the Dodgers, which obviously they've produced great lineups over the last several years. So it's, as much struggles as the Orioles have had over the last few years, visiting pitchers have had the same troubles at Camden Yards. So I think the goal is to make, the ballpark more attractive. They expect it to remain a hitter's park. They don't think that area will just turn into, a dead zone. They think that'll lead to, some extra base hits, some triples, other, exciting balls in play. And so I think that, the long-term goal is to make it a more balanced park in terms of home runs allowed, but also make it more appealing to pitchers in terms of, guys who maybe said, oh, I'm looking to rebuild my value in a short-term deal, and I don't want to do that at Camden Yards.
Nathan, how much do you think the players on the current roster had any input on this? Is John Means coming to Michael Elias and saying, hey, I think this is actually a good idea, I support this? Or are they, having any kind of input, positive or negative, towards this?
Yeah, so obviously, given the lockout situation, Elias couldn't go to players right now, but he did give the impression that during this past season, so this is something that sounds like they've been thinking about on and off over basically since he arrived in Baltimore. So it does sound like over this past season, he talked to players, he talked to former players, and obviously I would assume that, if he went to a hitter might say like, it definitely is prone to home runs, but I prefer you not do that. But he did say that, it's basically universal across the board that everyone agreed it is a ballpark that does lend itself to more home runs. So even if hitters maybe were like, I prefer you not, they still recognize the fact that there is an imbalance at Camden Yards and that this change would address that.
Yeah, I think that eventually this is just going to be one of those things where you're going to be like, remember when we were upset about this wall and now we don't even notice it? I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. Now, switching gears a little bit here, Nathan, you're in the middle of a series where you take a look at players on the 40-man roster. And there were some things that stood out to me in reading that series that you did. You had Tyler Wells as a projected closer. I'm inclined to think, just based on what I've seen from Brandon Hyde the last 2 years, that he's going to give Cole Sulser first crack at being the closer in 2022. How quickly do you think that I think Tyler Wells has the stuff and the makeup to do it. How quickly do you think he's going to seize that opportunity, or is it going to be kind of like maybe even a closer by committee type of thing?
I mean, I think that's definitely possible. You look at, Cole Sulser's 2021 versus his 2020. He took a big step forward. Obviously, he had kind of an injury in 2020 that seemed to be helping him back, but cut down his walk rate incredibly. So he's a guy who I think Brandon Hyde trusts a lot. But you look at how, going back to 2019, you look at Michael Givens. Brandon Hyde never really named Michael Givens the closer. He kind of just viewed him as the most important spot in the game. That's when I'm going to use Michael Givens. And that kind of tended to end up being the ninth inning. Generally, there were times where that wasn't the case, but that was how Brandon Hyde intended to use Michael Givens. I think what ended up becoming the problem is that there was no one else in that bullpen who stepped up to then be the ninth inning guy if Michael Givens wasn't used in the ninth. I think when you look at Cole Sulser and Tyler Wells, you could make the argument that now you use Cole Sulser as this is the big spot in the game. Let me bring him in to get 4 outs from the 7th to the 8th, and then I'll let Tyler Wells pitch the 9th because he's a guy I trust to do that. So I think now when you look at the way that this bullpen is being formed. Obviously, you would like those two guys to build off their 2021 seasons, and obviously, especially in Tyler Wells' case, and even Cole Sulser's case. He's an older guy, but he hasn't been in the major league super long. There's going to be some adjustment to them, but I think when you look at how Brandon Hyde deployed them late in the year, he didn't use Cole Sulser as his closer super frequently. He did end up leading the team in saves, but he didn't just hand him the role. There was a lot of, this is the most important spot in the game, and I'm going to go to Cole Sulser right here. So I think that kind of format would lend itself to Cole Sulser being a deployable setup guy and Tyler Wells being the closer.
I can see how that would be a thing. I think it could be really exciting if Tyler Wells kind of takes that role and seizes it. You also wrote about Anthony Santander, and for me, what stood out is just Santander in general. He has finished each of his 3 full big league seasons on the IL with some kind of injury. He missed a great deal of time last April because of the sprained ankle. And then he had a down year. It was evident he couldn't move to his left or right very, very well. It was evident that he was struggling to put the ball in play. You did mention he had one of the highest exit velocities on the team when he did make solid contact. But Santander, a lot of people forget that he's going to be on this opening day roster because we're so entrenched with Kyle Stowers and Colton Cowser and all those guys. But Anthony Santander is probably starting in right field on opening day. How important is this year for him? And is there any chance that he makes it through 2022 as a Baltimore Oriole?
I mean, I think there's a chance because if he struggles again, there's not going to be many teams who are particularly interested in him.
True.
He is a guy with 3 years of control left, including 2022. So there is time for the Orioles to, build up his value further if he does have another rough season. Brandon Hyde was pretty adamant at the end of the year after Santander's season was over. He thinks he's more like the player that they saw in 2020 than 2021. But the issue is, and I think this becomes a little bit forgotten in terms of his 2020 season, it was 37 games. It was less than a quarter of a season,
right,
just given the circumstances and his injury. So he had a great year in 2020, but it wasn't even remotely close to a full season of play. So I think, adding in that context, you look at him over the last 3 seasons, he has one of the lowest on-base percentages in baseball, one of the lowest walk rates in baseball, and that's basically the opposite when you look at the type of players. You mentioned Kyle Stowers and Colton Cowser. It's the opposite of the type of players the Orioles have been targeting in their draft and player development strategies. So as much of an impact player that he has been over the last few years and an important part of the Orioles lineup, he clearly needs to take some steps forward to become a long-term piece in Baltimore. I think obviously if they're struggling and he's playing well, a relatively young outfielder with 2.5 years of control left, switch hitter, I think that will appeal to some teams, and especially if they have Kyle Stowers on the way and ready to come up to the majors, I think a move could definitely be a possibility.
Now, somebody else who ended last year on the IL was Ramon Urias. Now, he was a very consistent hitter over the second half of the season for the Orioles. Played a lot of second base. The defense wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But he also played a lot of shortstop. Are the Orioles going to target a shortstop after the lockout, or do they like what they have in Urias, and are they going to try and give him the opportunity to claim a role on this team?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting how they approach the left side of the infield. If you look at things right now, you have Jorge Mateo, Urias, and Kelvin Gutierrez as kind of the options on the left side, assuming that Rougned Odor becomes their starting second baseman, which is not necessarily a guarantee. You look at, even what happened with Yolmer Sanchez. Like, he was presumed to be the guy, and then in spring training they DFA him. So I don't think there's necessarily a guarantee. They're only paying Rougned Odor the league minimum, so that's not necessarily promised. So it is possible that the whole infield needs to be redone to an extent. I don't know if they're going to go out of the lockout and sign Carlos Correa by any means. So I think it's possible that I think they're interested in what they have in Ramon Urias. On the flip side of what I was saying about Santander not being a guy who walks or gets on base, Ramon Urias led the Orioles in on-base percentage. He beat Cedric Mullins out by 0.001 points, and then he actually led All-American League rookies in on-base percentage. So he's a guy who, when you look at what the Orioles are hoping to have in their lineup, he's a guy who kind of fits that. Now, obviously, he's older for a guy with as much Major League experience as he has, but he's kind of a guy who's just always hit. So I think he's a guy who presents them interesting possibilities. It's possible that he platoons with Odor. He could be their starting shortstop. He could play some third base. I think he's a guy who presents a lot of interesting pieces for them. And I think he's a guy who, if you look at the long term, could at the worst be a utility infielder on a good Orioles team.
Yeah, I really like the makeup of Arias. I'm excited to see what he can do with a full season on the roster. Now, I know we got to get you out of here, but real quick before we do, the international signing period starts today. The Orioles have been linked to Braylon Tavares, Cesar Prieto, and Leandro Arias. Can you tell us anything about these players before you go?
Yeah, I mean, Tavares is going to receive the largest signing bonus in franchise history for a Latin American teenager, beating out the $1.3 million they gave to Samuel Basayo last year. So it's just continued investment by these guys. You know, these are guys who obviously the industry is regarding as talented. Prieto's an older guy, a guy who could make a quick push to the major leagues out of Cuba. So there's some exciting talent here. They're just continuing to stockpile it. Just if you look at that side of the organization as a whole, a lot of these guys are going to be getting into full season ball from the past couple classes. So they're just building this talent pipeline that Mike Elias promised. They're adding on to it, and you're seeing more results through the Dominican Academy that's you know, they broke ground on last year. I know I'm not specifically answering your question super well in terms of, you know, the talent these guys have. Tavares is a center fielder who projects to stay there. Obviously, he's only 16, turns 17 next month. So a lot of time between now and when he reaches the major leagues. But just this continued investment, it just shows that the Orioles are finally getting in this area. I mean, we're going to speak with Kobe Perez later today, their head of international scouting, and you know, I'm hoping to ask him, are you guys caught up? Because obviously, you know, these are deals that are consummated years in advance, and is 2021 the year you guys finally felt settled into things, or are you still playing catch up? So I'm interested to hear where they feel they are in the market. But obviously, the fact that, you know, Tavares is going to receive a signing bonus somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million. I think MLB Pipeline reported 1.7 million, which is going to end up being among the 20 highest bonuses given out today. So it shows that the Orioles are involved near the top of the market, and I think as years goes forward, they'll get closer and closer to the top of it, assuming the international format stays this way.
It sounds like something to be really excited about here in Baltimore. Nathan, what can we plug for you moving forward here?
Yeah, the Oriole Today series you mentioned, that'll continue examining kind of a by-the-numbers look, what was good, what wasn't, looking ahead to 2022 of each member of the Orioles' 40-man roster. Might dive into some prospects depending on what ends up happening with the timing of spring training. And just in general, you know, just some analysis and taking the deep looks at what this organization is doing, examining more and more the impact of this left field change, looking at what they're doing to prepare for the 2022 draft, in which they'll likely have a top 5, if not the number 1 pick, depending on how the CBA sorts out, looking at their player development apparatus. So yeah, all of that will be on baltimore.com/sports/Orioles. And if you so care to watch me tweet out renderings of the new stadium, you can follow me on Twitter at Nathan S. Ruiz.
All right, you just did the Twitter plug for me. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking some time. I know you're busy today, so you go after it, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon, all right?
Yeah, sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Nathan Ruiz from the Baltimore Sun joining us. I just saw on his Twitter profile he was I think this is super cool. It says he's a 2013 Oklahoma State University Mario Kart champion.
Wow.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen that beforehand.
We needed to talk about that.
I wanted to. I would have loved to have asked him about that. Yeah, that's so cool, man. I was the 2002.
I'm waiting for this one.
I was the 2002 Madden 03 runner-up.
Really?
Yeah, it was a 64-man tournament.
Like where? Like what?
We just did it at Frostburg.
Okay.
At Frostburg State University. It wasn't like an official thing, but it was a 64-man on-campus tournament, and I made it all the way to the finals, and I lost. I was thinking about this on the way here today, which is so weird. And I lost.
Reliving your glory days
on a last-second field goal.
No, you should have blocked it.
After I had just missed a field goal. You ever play Madden where it's like one of those wonky things where you click the kick button and it doesn't register and then you kick it like 20 yards? It wasn't like that, but it was where like when I tried to stop it, it registered late.
I remember the first Maddens that actually were the online ones, like Madden 12, 13, where it actually, started, you could play against other people wherever you were and that kind of stuff. And it was really bad. Like it was impossible to kick it. But I remember I think the first Madden I ever played was Madden 07, and that one was really janky with the kicking. Really not the easiest.
Well, I lost because of my missed field goal and this guy's made field goal. At the last second, I lost by 3 points. And the guy didn't even go to Frostburg.
Wow,
he was
cheater.
He went to Towson University and he was visiting a friend.
It might have been me.
No, dude, you were like 2.
Yeah.
No, you weren't 2.
You were
I was probably
you,
one.
You were a young pup. You were an
Yeah.
infant.
Yeah.
You were an infant, and this.
I was good at Madden, though.
This guy shows up, and I was so mad because when I found out he didn't even go to Frostburg, I'm like, so I'm the best at Frostburg.
Yeah, no,
Right?
that's he cheated.
Yeah.
You should find this guy and tell him he cheated.
Yeah, you can't go to Towson and then win a Frostburg tournament, bro. Stay in your lane.
Right. I mean, he cheated.
You know who won't cheat you? Toyota. Make the most out of every day in a Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style, so check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back, Zach's going to sound off an Orioles banter.
Glory Days Grill's winter seasonal menu is back with comfort classics like their house-made meatloaf and short rib grilled cheese. It also features the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, grilled meatloaf sandwich, smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. All of these items pair well with Devil's Backbone 8-point IPA or their anniversary IPA brewed by Devil's Backbone. And try their seasonal cocktails, Blood Orange Bourbon Cider, Apple Ginger Mule, and Captain's Hot Cider. Find out more and get your order in today at glorydaysgrill.com. Great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
From all of the biggest games to the smallest events, make every bet worth your while at MyBookie. Start by doubling your first deposit instantly with MyBookie's first deposit bonus up to $1,000. Double your money before you even place a bet, and all you have to do is sign up and deposit using the exclusive promo code PRESSBOX at mybookie.ag. If your first deposit is $100, MyBookie adds $100 so you can start with $200 to play with. If your first deposit is $1,000, MyBookie adds $1,000 so you can start with $2,000 to play with. With tons of great games and prop bets to take advantage of this week, there is truly something for everyone. Don't wait any longer. Head to MyBookie today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can start winning big today. That's promo code PRESSBOX to receive double your first deposit instantly in your account. No hassle, no wait. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
The latest issue of PressBox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
We're back here on the Bat-Around, coming to you from our Press Box studios on a chilly Saturday morning in January, well into the second hour of the program. The first hour was brought to you by the latest issue of Press Box, which is available now, and it is our very special annual Best of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. So this guy, and this is the last bit of attention I'm going to give to him, because he said something that I don't ever want to be accused of as a journalist in Baltimore. And he said that Baltimore journalists always give the Orioles a pass to treat us like crap and kick us. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit there. Zach and I don't give the Orioles a pass ever, right? I went on a tangent about this team back in August,
when they were headed for a 110 loss season. I went I got very angry. We don't give this team a pass. We're just not going to get up in arms about something as
it's a wall.
It's a wall.
It's a wall.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This isn't the undoing of the franchise.
No.
I think ultimately it helps the Orioles. But I think at the worst, it doesn't really have a huge impact.
Right.
It's a freaking wall. Like, and look, if this regime, I get it. The Orioles lost 115 games in 2018, and they lost 108 in 2019. They were headed for, let's face it, another 100-loss season in 2020 if they played the full thing. And then last year they go out and they lose 110 games. Guys, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like this is the Orioles are my very first love. That's why I do this show. That's why I'm here. That's why if you watch Glenn Clark Radio, I'm in Orioles gear more often than not. I love the Orioles.
Right.
This sucks. I hate it. I don't want to see. I wish I could sit here and tell you the Orioles are going to go out and surprise the baseball world like they did in 2012 and win 93 games. It's not going to happen.
No.
Right? It's not going to happen.
No.
I want this to be over as much as you do. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Orioles fans right now are being treated like crap because we're not. We have, all you have to do is look at Michael. If Mike Elias had a checklist that was visible to everybody, there would be numerous checks next to the things that he said he was going to do.
Right.
Everything he said he was going to do to this point, he's done, with the lone exception, in my opinion, being putting a winning product on the field.
Yes.
And he just doesn't believe they're there yet. But they have the number one farm system in baseball. They have the number one prospect in baseball. They have the number one pitching prospect in baseball. And guess what? Those guys are going to be at Camden Yards with that big freaking wall this year. Well, it's coming.
Right. I remember last year, and you weren't on the show. It was one of the ones I did with Ryan Blake. And Ryan and I, he really went on a whole thing, defending Mike Elias and talking about why Mike Elias has really checked, like you said, all of the boxes that he said he was going to check. And the overall thing that I kept saying in that show is that Mike Elias laid out the plan the day he gave that press conference when he came to Baltimore. And I believe it was November or December in 2018. That day he came, he said, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how long it's going to take. It's not going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to get us a good product in the end. And we have, yet to see, obviously, that product in the end. But he told you exactly what was going to happen. He made it very clear. You should not be surprised the Orioles are still bad. If you are, you haven't been paying attention. This is what he said.
Not to mention a 60-game season where they had no minor league season because of COVID.
Go to YouTube, watch Mike Elias' press conference, and tell me he's not doing what he said he would do.
Exactly. And Glenn brings this up all the time. There's no guarantee that this is going to work. And
No,
he's right. There's no guarantee that the Orioles are going to win the World Series because of what Mike Elias is doing right now.
And if this plan fails, then we will tell you the truth about that.
Yeah.
We will tell you that what happened.
Yeah, we will 100% say this plan has failed.
Right.
If for some reason Zach and I are still doing this show in 2027 and the Orioles haven't won a World Series and they've only been to the playoffs one time, we will tell you unequivocally this plan has failed.
Right.
I think this plan has failed if they haven't made to the playoffs by 2024.
Well, right. I look at the Brewers rebuild as, because they went through a couple hard years there, and I don't know if you want to call it a rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, but they made the playoffs. And, they've made the playoffs multiple times now after the rebuild. They've come out with a very competitive team, and they always have a pretty low-cost competitive team on the field. And I like the model the Brewers have done, and I like what they've done, but yet they haven't won a World Series. But I still find that successful. I think what they've done by putting a playoff team, year after year on the field through this rebuild has been very successful for them. And that's what I want to see the Orioles be. Even if it's not a World Series, just those playoffs year after year, being that competitive squad.
You want to be known as one of those teams that you can expect to see playing in October.
Right.
And I don't mean October 3rd on a Sunday and it's the last game of the year. I mean playing in
Right.
October significantly. Now, I am not of the same ilk when it comes to that, Zach.
Okay, fair enough.
I understand teams having low payrolls and being competitive and how fun it is. But those teams don't win World Series.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
The Rays,
that's true.
the Rays are the only one of those teams that get there.
They got close,
but they didn't win.
Yep.
The Athletics are
the Indians in 2017.
Yeah, the Guardians now.
The Guardians.
Yeah,
right.
they get to the playoffs. They don't make it much for the Indians. We can say that they were the Indians.
That's why I said it. They
were
the
the Indians. And Cleveland got there in 2017, and it was an exciting World Series. No, that was 2016.
Was it? Okay.
That was
you might be
2016
right.
because they played the
right.
Cubs. I remember. Oh my gosh, what was the guy's name? Edwin? No.
Oh, the
Jackson was that his last
the
name?
center fielder you're talking about, where he hit the home run.
Hit the home run. The
speedy center fielder. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
It sent them to extra innings, and then you had a 30-minute rain delay to for the suspense and all that, and then the next thing you know, the Cubs end up winning the World Series, first one in 116 years or whatever, however long it was, or 108 years. But like that was exciting. But these teams generally that spend less don't win World Series. They can get close. They can get you close, and I'd be sitting here happy as a clam.
Rajai Davis.
Thank you, Rajai Davis. I'd be happy as a clam if the Orioles got to a Game 7 of a World Series. The Orioles got to a Game 1 of a World Series.
Sure.
But the goal is to win.
Yep.
A World Series. And that's why I would much rather see the Orioles be in the top half of the league in payroll, because I think that ultimately getting those guys, spending the money on the guys that get you over the hump is what helps you win a World Series.
Yep.
So, but look, we're not going to sit here. We're not going to apologize for the Orioles. If we don't agree with them, we don't agree with them. There's just nothing to not agree with at this exact moment.
Right.
Now, if they come out and they tank again this year and they win 100 games, they lose 100 games, I'm going to be upset again. And
it's going to be very frustrating.
And in August, I'm going to go off again about them not putting a more competitive product on the field.
Yeah.
I look at the fact that Brandon Hyde is in his final year, and they gave him a final year. It was supposed to be last year. They gave him an extra year. Adley Rutschman's coming. Grayson Rodriguez is coming. They've moved the wall back so that they can potentially attract free agent starting pitchers. Maybe not this year, but in the years to come. They spent $7 million on a pitcher, which they didn't spend $7 million on anybody that was on the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I look at these things, and I think maybe they look at 2022 as that bridge the gap year. They look at it as that year where it's like, look, we need to start seeing improvement on the field this year so that we can enter next offseason and kind of start to go for it.
And I think there's reasonable expectation that's going to be true. I think if you look at what they've done in the offseason, they made 2 major league signings. That's more than they made last year. Now, I don't know if you can call Rougned Odor a very quality major league signing.
Wasn't he a minor league signing?
I believe he was major league. He was definitely the major league minimum is what he was.
Oh, that's right.
Right, so he's not a really quality major league signing, but it is one, and it shows that they're...
punched Jose Bautista in the face.
He did that.
And he's hit 30 home runs a few times.
Right. I mean, he's had his flashes of greatness in the past, and he was a guy who came up with Texas who... many people called one of the better second basemen in the game at the time. He had a great 2016, 2017, but that guy's kind of past us now. But anyway, the point is that the Orioles definitely made an effort early on to sign free agents and major league free agents, and they have, once the lockout ends, plenty of time to do the same again. They have,
I still believe they're going to go get another pitcher, and they're going to go get a major league catcher, and they're going to go get a major league shortstop. I firmly believe that they will have signed as many as 5 or 6 major league free agents. Probably not 6, but I think they will have signed as many as 4 or 5.
Well, I mean, they need a catcher. I mean, that's blatantly obvious. You have Adley Rutschman coming, but you have nothing behind that. I mean, Jacob Nottingham, you don't know what you're getting there. And the other, they signed one more guy as well. Right, so Anthony Ben Boom, and you just don't... Right, Ben Boom, yeah, I said that kind of weird. But look, you don't know what you're getting with those guys. They have very little major league service time, and they're guys who really haven't performed that well with the bat in the minors, so they're probably more defensive minded. So you need to sign that veteran, like Wilson Ramos or something like that.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, man. If you're an Orioles fan and you know how bad the team has been, you're in the middle of a lockout, and you're trying to talk about baseball, and there's just not much going on. What is the point of going into the season with all the negativity?
There's none.
What is the point in that? Like, you can't get yourself excited for anything about this team. Like
I mean, personally, I'm excited for Ryan Mountcastle, Austin Hayes, the arrival of Rutschman. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about.
Like, look, I understand the Orioles have been really bad the majority of my life. They've had 13 winning seasons my entire life. They've had 5 playoff appearances my entire life, and I'm on the wrong side of 30. I get it, but I still find a reason to get excited about this team. No, I would much rather be my reason is, hey, they could win 95 games and make a run at the title this year. But my reason is, like you said, Ryan Mountcastle and Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Stowers, and getting to see a major league finally the pieces of a major league product on the field. You can find something every year to get excited about. And if you can't, just take a break. Take a break.
Yeah.
You know, plenty of people hop off the bandwagon, and as soon as the Orioles get good, they start rocking their gear.
No one's
again.
forcing you to watch.
Yeah, nobody's forcing you to watch, man. Like, you can take a break and then come back. People might give you crap for it, but there's no law that says you can't leave the team and then come back. That's what free agents do all the time. So become a free agent fan until they get good again, and then come back, and we'll only give you crap about it for like 6 months. All right? We got to move on. Zach, you have something you want to sound off about, something really important that you want to sound off about.
Yeah, a pretty interesting hire in baseball this week. Rachel Balkovec was hired as the manager of the Yankees single-A team, the Tampa Tarpons. She's the first female manager in did I say that wrong? Or are you just okay? Making sure I said that right, and especially her name as well. I'm gonna get it right.
What is a tarpon?
I have no idea.
Is it like one of those Is it like one of those like?
I'm gonna look this up.
Pitchfork things that like
Tampa Tarpons.
King.
We need to find out what a tarpon is before I can continue to do this. A tarpon is apparently some kind of fish. So there's that.
Okay, the Tampa Tarpons.
So they're a fish. Anyway, she's the first female manager in baseball history. Shouldn't really surprise anyone, I guess. It's generally been a very male-dominated industry for a long time, but I think we're starting to see that kind of change here, and that's obviously good. You know, the Giants have hired female coaches. I believe right now there are 11 female coaches across the entirety of baseball, including minor league and Major League Baseball. But the Yankees hired her to be the manager of their single-A team, Tampa Tarpons. You know, when we talk about this, we talk about gender in sports and gender in baseball. I think the emphasis and what people are really fighting for, the equality of it, is just hiring the person who is most qualified for the job. And Rachel clearly is most qualified for the job. She's in her mid-30s and she's been around in baseball for a little while, and she clearly is very, very good at what she does. And people like this, deserve to be hired. Kim Ng for the Miami Marlins, the GM of the Marlins. Again, someone who was around in baseball for a very long time and deserved to be a GM way before she got the chance because of these lines that are drawn between genders in sports today. But we really should be putting an emphasis on hiring the most qualified person, like Kim Ng was, like Rachel Balkovec is. So to me, this is a big step for baseball, and just I really would like to see the best people being hired for the job, and this is just that's what's really cool to see someone like this breaking the barrier and being the first female manager as well.
It's super important because you're seeing it in the NFL, you're seeing it in the NBA.
NFL's really doing it well. Yes,
this is, if they're the most qualified, they should be the ones out there.
Exactly.
And that's.
Everyone's got to get the same chances, is what we're trying to say.
That's the beginning and the end of it.
Right.
Really, if you're the most qualified, if you give that team the best chance to win, if you're the person that's respected the most to run that ball club, then you should be the one running that ball club.
If you're the best at your job, regardless of anything else, you should be getting that job.
Exactly. And you said it perfectly. There's not really much else I can add on to it. We're in a time now where women are doing more than they've ever done before, and I think it's so important. I think it sucks it's taken this long, but I think this is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And it should be treated as such.
Right.
And, I'm wishing her all the success in the world. I hope she goes out there and not for the Yankees' perspective, not for the Yankees' standpoint, because I still want their team to fail miserably. But I hope that she has professional success doing what she's doing.
Yes.
Yes. No, I wish it could have been for like the Mets or something like that.
Right? Yeah, but good on the Yankees for doing that. That's a great move by the Yankees.
It's an important thing. So very well done, Zach. Nice segment today. So we're going to move on now to Orioles banter here, and Dan Conley.
You got to get that little banter thing in.
Dan Conley put up as soon as he put this up, I decided I wanted to do it because I feel like these are questions that we can answer and then expound upon. He put up a fan survey back on Thursday, January 13th, so just a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm. I've not seen this fan survey. I'm looking forward to seeing it though.
Yeah, and
I usually enjoy these a lot.
I took the survey.
Okay.
I don't know what the results were, but we're gonna do this one
Let's
again.
do it.
Are you still behind the club's rebuilding plan? Yes, there was a lot of work to do, and I'm now seeing positives. Yes, but I need to see some improvement soon to stay on board. I'm having some doubts. I've lost faith. I never supported the total rebuild.
Yes, but I'm going to need to see some improvement.
That's what I chose.
That's my answer.
Yeah, I feel like
it can't go on forever.
It can't, and it's not forever. They've only really done two full seasons. Yeah. This is going to be their third full season of the rebuild, but they've had
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. They've had 5 straight losing seasons.
Right.
And 2 seasons in which they lost 110 or more games.
Right.
The other one 108. So it's
I look at it as almost 3 full because once Manny Machado was traded away, that's when I really felt like they went into the rebuild, even before Elias.
Because of all the trades they made, which really haven't helped the team at all.
Right. So if you combine July 31st on from 2018 and then the 2020 season, I think you're looking at almost 3 full seasons.
You're looking at 4.
I guess, yeah, technically, yeah.
You're basically looking at 4 seasons. You're right. You're looking at 3 full seasons.
I was going to say, I think it's
entering the 4th season.
Yeah.
I agree with you, yes, but I need to see some improvement soon to stay on board.
Yep.
You can't just keep losing 100 to 115 games every year. You have to figure out how to get better on the field. You've already had a ton of top 5 draft picks. You've had a number 1 overall pick, hopefully twice now. It's time to show some stuff at the major league level. You can't go higher than number 1 in the farm system. There's not a 1A and a 1B. You can't get higher.
But acquiring more depth would certainly
and that's what they're doing with the international stuff.
Right.
All right, compared to this time last year, what is your optimism concerning the organization? More optimistic, less optimistic, about the same?
I'd say about the same. I don't really feel too differently. I guess most of what I expected to happen in 2021 happened in 2021 with the Orioles. I feel like that. So I wouldn't say it's really changed. I think I'm still kind of in the same spot with the rebuild, my feelings about the team, the optimism. It's all kind of in the same spot for me.
For me, I am more optimistic.
Okay.
Because you saw Adley Rutschman come out and start out like gangbusters last year, and then he hit a little bit of a mid-season swoon, changed his swing up a little bit, and then he was a monster down the stretch. Kyle Stowers, who I was really excited about when they drafted him, he burst onto the scene at the minor league level, and he's going to have an impact on this team this year. I, for one, take them moving the wall back as something that's going to attract free agents, and I think that they know that time is – because they could have played this year with that wall and changed it next year. I think that means that maybe
things are starting to change.
Things are starting to rev up a little bit. And then spending $7 million on Jordan Lyles. Being willing to spend that kind of money, I think it shows that maybe that they're looking at turning that corner here sooner rather than later. So I'm more optimistic this year. How would you describe the pace of the club's current rebuild? Moving quicker than expected, moving slower than expected, about what I expected?
Definitely slower than expected, but not because of their fault. It wasn't the Orioles had no control over it. It was COVID.
Yeah, for me it's slower than expected, but that's because as a fan, you're like, all right, we can lose 100 games for 3 years, and now you're 5 years into losing, and you're like, oh, we're doing this again.
But the rebuild looks completely different if COVID doesn't happen.
Oh, absolutely. I think that I know Rutschman would have been here this year.
Oh, easy. Yeah, for sure.
Without COVID, you probably have Heston Kjerstad.
And they could have been a 70-something win team by now.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. What has been the most exciting aspect of the rebuild? Improvement on the farm system, dedication to the international amateur market, overhauling of the analytics department, streamlined use of new technology from minors to majors, getting top 5 overall draft picks for 4 straight years, or other?
I mean, I would have to say the farm system. When you look at the international pipeline, and then I think 2 of those answers almost blend into that other one, because if you look at the international pipeline, that has to do with restocking the farm system, and then getting top picks is also restocking the farm system. So for me, the development of the farm system from 27th when Michael Elias took over now to 1st, huge change, and it's just been
that happened quickly,
right? And it's tangible; you can see it. So it's not something that like analytics. Yeah, we hear about it, but we don't necessarily see the changes it makes at this point. But you can actually see this farm system just getting infinitely better.
Oh, I absolutely agree, and that's what's going to fuel your future winning teams. So for me, it's the improvement of the farm system as well. What has been the most frustrating aspect of the rebuild? Multiple 100-loss seasons, an inferior big league product with few major league caliber players on the roster, which is an awful pitching staff waiting for quality reinforcements, seeing other teams in the division excel, lack of fundamentals on a consistent basis.
Pitching staff. The pitching staff.
Or other.
The pitching staff has been unbelievably frustrating. Sometimes I just don't even want to watch the Orioles because of how bad the pitching has been. And the hitting overall in the rebuild, it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been awful. It's been fine. But the pitching has been unbelievably terrible for so long now. And that would probably be the most frustrating point for me.
For me, the most frustrating thing is I'm going to go with other on this. It's watching teams go into rebuilds after the Orioles and start to see things rev up more quickly. Like
That's also fair.
Like the Tigers, the Texas Rangers.
Tigers got good so quick.
Yeah, the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays started to rebuild a little bit before the Orioles, but they got good so fast.
I want to say the Tigers did too, because I think they had the number 1 overall pick in 18. So I think they started a little bit before, but not that much.
Yeah, but
and their whole timeline was just accelerated.
I guess that maybe not the teams that started after the Orioles, but it's more so watching these teams get there more quickly.
Sure,
it's frustrating because it's like but it's a different philosophy for each organization. They don't have the same They don't have the same philosophy that Michael Elias has. What's going on over there? Nothing pertaining to the show.
No, not pertaining to the show.
I think Zach just found out his girlfriend's pregnant.
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
When do you expect the Orioles to be a legitimate contender in the AL East? 2022? I wish. 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. The year after I die. There's a lot of people.
That's an actual.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think the year after I die right now, like this guy Paul on YouTube.
25.
A legitimate contender by 2025.
Wild card contender, yeah. I think they're a wild card contender by 2025.
That's so late.
I don't know, man. This division is so good. It's so good.
You're gonna waste 3 years of Adley Rutschman before you become a wild card contender.
I don't know. I'm not confident it happens before then. Maybe 24, but 25.
I think legitimate contender has to be by 20. I think it's an abstract failure if you're not a legitimate contender by 2024.
Okay.
I just do, because that's 5 years, 6 seasons, really 7 if you count 2018 of trying to get there. Because, like you said, the trades that they made in 2018. For me, I expect them to be a legitimate contender by 2024. I expect them to be a competitive, fun team by 2023.
I sure hope so. Look, I want this to happen as much as anyone. I just look at the division with the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Rays and the Jays, and I just look at it and I go, wow, they're good. Every team is just good.
And the Orioles won more games than all of them from 2012 to 2016. And we didn't really feel like they were in a rebuild. We felt like they were just treading water.
Right.
You know what I mean? What should the Orioles do with Trey Mancini? Sign him to an extension ASAP, trade him before the season starts, trade him in July, keep him all season as a veteran leader while trying to re-sign him. This one was tough for me. I didn't like
Can you reread the options?
Yeah. Sign him to an extension ASAP. Trade him before the season starts. Trade him in July. Keep him all season as a veteran leader while trying to re-sign him.
I don't like the options either here because I don't know what to do with Trey Mancini. It's not that the options are bad. I guess I just don't know what to do with him. I would say trade him in July.
That's where I'm leaning to. Trade him in July. And guys, it's not now look. If Trey Mancini's hitting 280 in July with 25 home runs, probably not, because they moved the wall back. So okay, I can't help myself. The wall. That's what it should have just been, the bat around the wall. I would say trade him in July, just because I don't think he's part of your future. I think he's a nice story, and he's a great story, and I think he's great for the team, and he's great in the community. But he's 30 years old, and he just had arguably the worst season of his career. And understandably why.
Yeah.
You know, but he had, there's no denying he had the worst season of his career. Hopefully he gets back to 2019 Trey in 2022. But I think that if he does, they're going to trade him anyway. Because there's not a spot for him. He's a first baseman who's not really even a first. I mean, he doesn't really have a position, and the Orioles already have that with Ryan Mountcastle. And I think Ryan Mountcastle is ultimately the better hitter. So for me, you're going to trade. I would trade Trey Mancini in July. You start the year with him. And if he's doing what he did in 2019, you trade him. If he's not, then you just keep him as a veteran presence.
I agree.
Is there any current Oriole you wouldn't trade in a solid deal? Trey Mancini, John Means, Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins. No one is untouchable or other. Current Orioles, so not somebody in the farm system.
I think John Means has to be the answer here, because John Means is the most unique of those players, meaning that the Orioles have less talent in the minor league system as far as pitching goes than they do with the other positions. So I think John Means would be very hard to trade the best pitcher you've developed since Chris Tillman.
I enjoy John Means.
Me too.
I really do.
I know who you're going to pick. I know exactly who you're going to pick.
It's Ryan Mountcastle.
Yeah.
I have so much faith in that dude. I think that dude is a game-changing offensive
Oh,
player.
I don't disagree.
I think that he's a 30-homer, 40-double, or 40-homer, 30-double guy. I think he's going to hit close to 300 the majority of his career.
Yeah.
His bat is special. And I just, even if he doesn't have a position, I don't want to trade a bat like that.
My question for you on that would be, which position is easier to replace, though?
That's it. That's a great point.
That's why.
But they moved the wall back, so they go size of free agent starting pitchers.
The wall makes the difference. Exactly.
For me, it's Ryan Mountcastle because I'm also not sold on John Means being an ace.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. I just think the Orioles, he's the best pitcher they've developed since Chris Tillman, and it's been a long time since then now, and they've had a very, very difficult time in recent years developing pitchers. So I think that I want to stick personally with the guy that I know is he's already a known commodity.
Trust me, I get it. If it's not Mountcastle, it's Means for me. But if you came to me now and said, "Hey, the Orioles are trading John Means and they're getting, this, that, and the other," or you said they're trading Ryan Mountcastle and they're getting this, that, and the other, I'd be like, I need Ryan Mountcastle in my lineup.
Right. Okay. I agree.
All right. When should catching prospect Adley Rutschman make his major league debut? Opening day 2022. Once he passes the service time threshold, late April 2022. Once he passes the Super 2 threshold, late May 2022. After the All-Star break. Only when O's development staff believes he is fully ready. Should have been up in 2021.
Definitely not the last one. I think it all depends on the new CBA. I think that's going to make a lot of difference to this question. And it's hard
in your opinion.
It's hard to answer. I know, but I think it also depends. But I would say early May. And that's going to is there an other option for this one?
No.
Oh, well, if there was, I would go early May. But I'll say after the Super 2.
That's the same thing as late April.
So after the Super 2, I'll go late May.
Late May? Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's opening day 2022. He is the star of your franchise. And whether he's on the Major League roster right now or not, he's the face of your franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Cedric Mullins has a lot to say about that right now because of what he just did. But Adley Rutschman is and is going to be the face of your franchise. Yeah. And the season he just had at two different levels, he went up to AAA and got better. To me, like, what does it he's only had one full season. I don't feel like this is the type of prospect that has anything left to prove. And I think the Orioles know that too. And I think that if the CBA becomes something that helps you avoid service manipulation, he's here on opening day.
I don't disagree at all. I think he has nothing left to prove. I just believe that the Orioles won't do it. But maybe my opinion is different than what I believe the Orioles will and won't do. I don't know. But
I think it's safe to say we have no idea what the Orioles are going to do with anything. I mean, they built a wall.
They built the wall, yeah. Exactly.
What is your prediction for Rutschman's career? Eventual MVP, perennial All-Star. Similar to Matt Wieters, multiple All-Star, good but not great. Steady but never an All-Star. Total bust or... No, I'm sorry, that's it. Total bust.
Don't let some people hear that one. You'll get a lot of angry Oriole fans if you say that. I'm going to say perennial all-star. I don't know if he's an MVP kind of guy, just because catchers generally don't win MVP most of the time. And
he did.
And he did in 2011, but generally they don't play enough games, I think, to do that. And that would be the reason. So I think perennial all-star.
All right.
What just happened there? Really,
you said generally, and I thought generally. It's from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay. I've never seen it.
Yeah. You are missing out.
I know one of the guys. Isn't one of the guys' name in the show like Barney? Neil Patrick Harris.
Barney Stinson. Legend.
So I know that much apparently.
So for me, for Rutschman, it's perennial all-star.
Yeah.
If they hadn't built that wall, maybe eventual MVP. But for me, it's a perennial all-star. I just think that it's so hard to say somebody's going to be an eventual MVP.
I totally agree with that.
We haven't seen a baseball MVP in Baltimore since 1991.
Right.
And we had never seen a Ravens MVP till 2019. It's so hard. We've seen a lot of stud players.
Yeah.
It's so hard to predict that, but I'm going to say he's a perennial all-star.
I agree.
I think he'll be an all-star. I think Matt Wieters sometimes was an all-star because of his name. And I think Adley Rutschman, number one overall pick, if he's even average, he'll be an all-star.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all.
When should pitching prospect Grayson Rodriguez make his Major League debut? Opening day 2022, after the 2022 All-Star break. Whenever he shows he can dominate AAA hitters in 2022 or 2023.
I don't like any of these options, actually, because I was going to say I would say after the All-Star break is when I would bring up Grayson Rodriguez. But if I have to pick one here,
You just did. You said, I would say after the All-Star break is when that's your opinion.
Okay, we'll go with that.
That's what you picked.
We'll go with that.
I would say whenever he shows he can dominate AAA hitters in 2022. So if he's dominating in April, bring him up in May.
Okay.
If he's dominating in June, bring him up in June.
My problem with that one is I feel like there's no chance he doesn't dominate them.
Yeah.
If you can dominate Bowie, because most of the good prospects are at the AA level, or I should say the majority of the good prospects are at the AA level. So the competition might even be better. So I would say he's going to dominate them.
If he has a 4.50 ERA, I'm not ready to bring him up. That's somebody you call up in late August, early September. Right. What is your prediction for Gray Rod's career? He said Rodriguez is, but that's I said it anyway, right? The rare major league ace, consistent top of the rotation starter, solid mid rotation starter, inconsistent back end starter, total bust, Cy Young Award candidate once he leaves the organization.
Not that one. Can I get first few choices again? They're hard to remember all at once.
The rare major league ace.
No.
Consistent top of the rotation starter.
That's the one I wanted.
That's mine too.
Yes.
And again, it's so hard. It's like saying Adley Rutschman is going to be an MVP.
Okay.
I mean, John Means, we like to use the term ace whenever you have for the best pitcher on your team, but John Means isn't an ace. He did throw a no-hitter, and he was so dominant the first month or two of the season, but he's not what I would consider an ace. If Grayson Rodriguez gets to that level, I expect Grayson Rodriguez to be better than John Means. But ace, is he going to be Max Scherzer? Is he going to be Clayton Kershaw? Is he going to be Jacob deGrom?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think he could. But I'm not going to sit here and say he will.
It's like you said. It's like saying Rutschman's the MVP. It's just kind of it's a big ask of someone.
You got to get there before I can say it.
Right.
You got to get. It's definitely one of those things. It's such an easy thing to say, but you got to get there.
I was hoping is this quiz something you have to? Is there a paywall in front of it? I'd really like to find it so I can read the choices.
It's for the Athletic.
Okay, gotcha.
Which Orioles prospect besides the top two are you most excited about?
Okay.
Colton Cowser, DL Hall, Gunnar Henderson, Heston Kjerstad, Kyle Stowers, Jordan Westberg.
Oh my God, a lot of choices.
Or somebody else.
Colton Cowser.
You know, for me, it's Kyle Stowers because
Okay.
I think that his debut is imminent, and I loved what he did last year. He had the most home runs and RBIs and one of the highest OPSs in the organization.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
For me, it's because he's the closest.
See, for me, it's actually between Henderson and Colton Cowser. But the reason I picked Cowser is because I feel like Cowser, out of all of those guys, is the one that's the most refined and the one that has the most tools, the most complete package out of all of them. I know a lot of people probably said DL Hall to this one because DL Hall has, he's a big name, but
DL Hall makes me the most nervous.
I would say he's a huge reliever risk for sure. And the guy has yet to show a consistent command over a period of time. So that's the problem with DL Hall.
Which inexperienced Orioles starter has the best chance of stepping forward in 2022? Just I'm not going to name you 10 guys. Just name one.
Okay. Zimmerman. I'm going to go Zimmerman.
He's the last option on this list. For me on this list, I picked Michael Ballman.
Okay.
I really like what he brings to the table. A lot of people think he's going to end up a back-end guy. I think he could stick in the rotation, but I think that he has an opportunity to seize a job in spring training, and I hope he does.
I really loved what I saw from Bruce Zimmerman last year, and I have a lot of confidence he can do that again.
I've spoken about his curveball so much. I love his curveball.
Yeah. It's really solid. I think the biggest thing is with Ballman is just that there's going to be a little bit of a transition period, between just coming up from AAA. I think there's going to be a little bit of a difference there, and that's why it's going to take him some time to kind of get acclimated to the major leagues, and we saw that. I mean, he didn't have a ton of success last year, but Ballman is a much better pitching prospect, in my opinion, than that of Bruce Zimmerman, and even a lot of guys. I would put Ballman up there with DL Hall. I think they're very, very similar talent-wise.
I look at Mike Ballman, and I see a guy who might struggle to start.
Mm-hmm.
He might struggle at the start.
Right.
But I think once he gets a good start or two under his belt, he's a guy who hits a groove and stays in it.
He's that long and lanky type pitcher. I mean, those always seem to work out pretty well. So,
all right, we are down to the final three questions.
Okay.
So these are rating on a 1 to 5.
Okay.
1 is no confidence, 5 is full confidence, and then you know the numbers in between. You went to kindergarten. How confident are you in GM Mike Elias?
And wait, so 5 is the highest, 1's the lowest. Okay. 4.
I picked 4 also because the one thing he hasn't done is put a winning product, is put a better product on the field.
I don't want to ever say I'm fully confident in anyone.
Yeah.
Ever for anything.
Then if they fail, you have egg on your face.
Exactly.
How confident are you in manager Brandon Hyde?
2. I find there's very little evidence to believe that he's anything special as a manager. I think we have yet to see that. But that's not his fault.
I put a 3 because literally you can't evaluate him. They've given him nothing to evaluate him with. I think that you ask me again at the end of this coming season how I feel about Brandon Hyde, because I think he's going to have more talent to work with. People around baseball think he's a great baseball guy, and they think he's the guy to do this job. So I tend to line up with them. But I have to see it for myself. So for right now, he's right in the middle. He's a 3.
Yeah, I mean, do I have confidence in him at this moment? Not really.
Yeah, how can you have confidence in anything
with
the Orioles?
I don't know how to feel about that question.
How confident are you in club ownership led by John Angelos?
Oh, okay. 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really feel like I think with Peter, you kind of got more of what you were expecting to get, or you almost you got what you expected, really, is what I'm trying to say with that. And with John, I feel like he runs the team a little bit quieter. There's not as much vocal, I guess, coverage of the Orioles from John Angelos. So I think that it's a little bit of a differently run team than his dad did it. And I think that it doesn't really give me a lot of confidence because I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, but it also doesn't really leave me lacking with confidence either.
Yeah,
so I'll right in the middle.
For me, it's a 3 also because when he really started taking over the team and running the team was when the Orioles were really bad. And so I have to see how he runs a team when they're good.
Like Hyde and Elias.
Right, exactly. With Elias, I think he can do whatever Angelos allows him to do. So what's John Angelos going to allow Mike Elias to do? When the Orioles are in a position where they need to go spend some money on a couple of free agents to get them over the hump, is he going to let them do that? This is, for me, it's got to be a 3 because I don't know that he won't, and I don't know that he will.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our Orioles banter segment today. It was brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football. And while we can bet brick and mortar here in Maryland, we still can't bet online or on our phones. However, you can feel like you're betting totally legally and right on your phone by playing Underdog Fantasy Football. Player props, parlays, and traditional fantasy games are all available, and we're going to give you some free money to play with thanks to our friends at Underdog Fantasy Football. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use the code PRESSBOX, and whatever you download up to $10, we will match. That's right up to whatever you download up to $100. We will match. That's right up to $100 when you use the code PRESSBOX with Underdog Fantasy Football. They are giving you a free pick this week, but you have to use it as part of a parlay. Stephon Diggs over under 1 receiving yard. It's a freebie. I
think I'll have more than that.
Yeah, so you can line that up in the parlay, and you get one of them automatically right. So, all right, we got to catch a break. When we come back, we'll close things out with some Orioles trivia here on the Bat Around.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest issue of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special annual Best of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
All right, there is a new era of Glenn Clark Radio as the Bat-Around's own Paul Valley took over as the show's co-captain. The show remains the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with Calvert Hall alum Ben Bender, the #1 pick in this week's MLS draft, Maryland legend Len Elmore, and Baltimore native Kenji Bahar, who spent his rookie season with the Ravens, and Dave Ginsburg unveiled his Baseball Hall of Fame ballot. Find those interviews and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature right now at PressBoxOnline.com. I didn't know you caught up with Ben Bender. I'll have to go back and watch that segment because I was watching the MLS draft, and I'm a DC United fan, so
United.
Is that how I said it? I got this Baltimore accent thing apparently, but yeah, Ben Bender is a Maryland guy, Calvert Hall. I mean, that I honestly did not know who he was. Like, I had no idea. But the guy is apparently really good. And to go first overall in any sort of draft is crazy impressive.
I think I turned you down a little too much.
I was going to say, I don't really hear myself here.
Yeah,
there we go.
You were
there
like blasting in my ears.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
But no, all good. Yeah, Ben Bender, great kid, man. Mm-hmm. One of the things that stood out about that interview was Glenn asked him there was about a 2-week period where like Charlotte had gotten in contact with him and been like, hey, we want to take you first overall. And then there was like a period where they said we were thinking about taking you first overall. Then there was a period where you didn't hear about them. So we started thinking about, okay, I'll go back to Maryland, try and win a national championship. And then they ended up taking him. And he got almost choked up talking about not being able to go back to Maryland and go after a national championship because he had another year of eligibility.
Sure.
But when you get taken #1 overall in any sport, you go. There's no higher than that. You know what I mean? You go. But he was up. You could tell that it bothers him a little bit that he doesn't get to try and run it back with his friends and with his teammates and try and win a national championship because they fell short this year. And Glenn said, you know, when you go to play soccer at the University of Maryland, you go there to win a national championship.
Yes.
When you go to play basketball at Duke, you go there to win a national championship. When you go to play football at Alabama, you go there to win the national championship. It's what these schools are good at, right? So it was heartbreaking for him that he never won one, and you could just tell that the one thing that bothers him is not being able to try it again.
Yeah, no, I mean it's amazing to me, and again, I did not know. I don't really follow the MLS draft too hard, so I wasn't really aware of him, but I know that Maryland is a top soccer program,
and he went to Calvert Hall,
and they went to Calvert Hall, and that's awesome to see a guy from the Baltimore area go #1 in any draft. I mean that's pretty cool.
And Kenji Bahar went to Calvert Hall also.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's super cool seeing all the and then there's a punter. For Virginia Tech, who punted against Maryland, who went to Calvert Hall.
Okay.
And he's one of the top punters in the country as a freshman.
Okay.
Like, phenomenal. It's crazy the athletes coming out of Calvert Hall.
There's some amazing guys coming out. I believe it's St. Joseph's, I want to say, in Baltimore, has produced the Fuller brothers in the NFL and multiple basketball players. And, I mean, some of these private schools in Baltimore produce incredible talent.
The athletes in Maryland as a whole are fantastic.
Yes.
And that's why it bothers me when Maryland doesn't get more big name recruits and stuff like that. Like there's some phenomenal there's phenomenal athletes everywhere, but Maryland's one of the standout states in my opinion.
I agree
for high school athletes. All right.
You ready for some Orioles trivia?
Probably close my computer for this. Okay, Orioles trivia, not MLB. Okay.
This is Orioles trivia.
Okay.
All right. 7 players in Orioles history have collected 80 or more extra base hits in a single season.
Mm-hmm.
In total, the feat has been accomplished 8 times, meaning one of the players did it twice.
Okay.
Who are the 7 players? And as a bonus, in what year did they do it?
Wow. Okay. Ken Singleton is my first guess. No. Okay.
Damn.
How about Cedric Mullins?
No.
Not this year, really. Wow. Felt like he definitely had.
Well, because he had 30 homers, he had 35
Yeah.
doubles. That's 65, which means he would have had to have 15 triples.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to think about prolific power.
Ripken.
Cal Ripken tied for 3rd.
Okay.
There were more players in this, but they were part of the Browns franchise,
Okay,
so
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
count it. Cal Ripken.
I'll get the year. Hold up. 83.
No.
92. Or 91. Sorry.
91. Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
85 in 1991. He is tied with another player who also had 85.
Frank Robinson?
Frank Robinson, 1966. Okay. Very good. Go ahead.
I mean, we'll try Brooks. I don't know. He never hit a lot of home runs. How about Chris Davis?
Chris Davis, number 1.
Yeah, 2013.
96 extra base hits in 2013. You were correct.
Boog Powell?
No Boog.
No Boog. Okay. Brady Anderson.
Brady Anderson,
yeah.
number 2.
Mhm.
92.
Yeah.
What year?
No, the year hit 50 home runs. 96 or 95?
It was 96.
Okay.
It was 96. All right, so you've got the top. You've got the top 4.
All right.
You've got 4 left.
This is gonna get harder. Adam Jones?
I'm sorry. You have 3 left. One of them did it twice, and not Adam Jones.
How about Manny?
No.
Paul Blair?
No. Paul Blair. That's not a great choice.
I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall right now. See what sticks. Man, this is actually very difficult. This is actually. How about Palmeiro?
Rafael Palmeiro is the player that did it twice.
Okay.
81 and 80. Which years?
I have no idea.
Keep in
Honestly,
mind, he was only here 94 to 98.
Yeah, I was gonna say 95 was my first guess.
No.
Okay. 97.
No, 19. He
Nice.
did 81 in 1996.
Nice.
And 80 in 1998. You got to remember he hit 43 home runs in 98.
I'm really pretty lost on his entire career. I don't know much about his career at all. So we'll just say
Palmeiro, he was hitting like 310 with 23 home runs when the strike happened in 94.
Okay.
Then in 95 he hit 39 home runs. In 96 he hit 39 home runs. In 97, actually I think he hit 39 home runs again.
Okay.
And then he hit or maybe it was one of those years he hit 37, I want to say. But I always remember him hitting 39 home runs and then him finally breaking through with getting past 40. Then he hit 43 in 98.
Mark Trumbo.
No.
Really?
That's crazy.
That's surprising.
You would have thought it was a guy with that kind of power would have had 33 doubles.
Mark Reynolds?
No.
Okay. I'm not doing very well with this.
Mark Reynolds was literally all or nothing.
Yeah. Luke Scott. Possibility?
No. I will tell you this guy was tied with Palmeiro with 81. One of these guys.
Okay. What year? Like, are we talking modern-ish? Or are we talking...
Since the turn of the decade. I mean, since the turn of the century.
I was going to say decade. I was going to say it'd have to be a guy then 2020 up, so that would be a little bit. Turn of the century. Okay. So someone... Tejada.
Miguel Tejada,
Yeah.
81 in 2005. And you were missing 1. And this guy...
Again, turn of the century? Forward?
Yes.
Melvin Mora?
No, but that's a good guess. He has some really good years.
He did.
But you got to think of a guy who had a lot of homers and a lot of doubles.
Yeah.
Because Melvin Moore, I think's career high was...
Jake Fox in spring training.
Jake Fox had 80 extra base hits in spring training 2010.
Right. Yeah.
Melvin Moore had 27 home runs as his high. As his career high.
So I got to think of a power hitter. Probably not that recent, I would think. So probably more early 2000s. This is really difficult for me.
Not early 2000s.
Not early 2000s.
It's in the alts.
In the alts. Okay.
But it's not early.
Man, I might need a hint here. I'm blanking on this one. This last one. I'm having trouble.
He is widely hated.
Oh, widely hated. Okay. widely hated. I mean, people hate a lot of it. Wasn't Chris Davis again, was it? I mean,
he famously used this word that Stan used twice today.
Oh. It's the guy on Twitter that goes nuts about everything.
You don't remember his name?
I blocked him so long ago on there that I do not like this guy.
His first name
Hold up.
is asexual.
I know exactly who this is, and I just am Aubrey Huff. That's
Aubrey
what it is.
Huff.
It's Aubrey Huff.
82 extra base hits in 2008 because he had 34 homers and he had 48 doubles.
That was some hard trivia, I'll be honest with you, because Aubrey Huff is never a name that... When I think Orioles, I don't think Aubrey Huff, ever. I don't know, he's just...
I feel like I would have gotten it more quickly than you.
Maybe.
But I definitely... Aubrey Huff would have been one where I would have needed it.
I
because
hate
you don't
Aubrey
think
Huff.
you don't think about Aubrey Huff. The coolest thing he ever did, and I can't remember, maybe it was off of Jabba Chamberlain. I think it was off of Jabba Chamberlain. He hit a home run off of him, and as he's running down the first base, he gives this... Yeah,
I don't remember that.
As he's running down the first base, because Chamberlain, whoever the pitcher was, I think it was Chamberlain, either the inning before or the game before, struck somebody out and like overtly celebrated on the mound, like real fire up.
Maybe deserve it then.
I'm almost certain it was Chamberlain, and so when Huff homered off of him. He made a spectacle out of it, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And then he called Baltimore a horse-ass town, and
no longer a fan of Aubrey Huff.
Yeah, he's kind of a garbage human being.
I don't disagree.
He and A-Rod having martinis together.
You're right. You know what I always think about when I think of Joba Chamberlain is have you ever seen the midges game where all those midges were on his head and he had to leave the game?
Yeah, that was in Cleveland.
Yeah, right. And I always think of that when I think of Joba Chamberlain. That's like the first thing. It's disgusting.
Is it Joba or Java? I guess I call him Java because it's Jabba the Hutt, and he got really fat.
I have no idea. I have no idea. But that
yeah,
was. He was a really good pitcher for a little while. Right there.
He was supposed to be.
But like when he first came up, I remember him being really good.
And he was supposed to be, and then he kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
So very good. All right. That was good trivia. Remember, you got trivia for me next week.
Sounds good.
NFL playoffs start today. I believe it's 4:30. You have the Raiders at the Bengals, and then tonight you have the third matchup between New England and the Buffalo Bills. Who you got tonight?
Bengals for sure. I don't see the Bengals losing. I don't think the Raiders are a very good football team. Bengals. And then, Patriots-Bills is a good game, but I like the Patriots.
Yeah, the thing about Patriots-Bills is Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, Bill Belichick.
Bills Belichick.
Bills Belichick. I think that I'm going to take the Raiders.
Really?
To upset the Bengals today.
Okay.
No, I can't do it. Joe Burrow is going to throw.
He's just too good.
He's going to throw for over 400 yards. Let me take that back. The Bengals are going to win, but I think it's going to be close. Patriots, Bills. Until they prove they can do it, I got to take the Patriots. Bill Belichick in the playoffs. I just think
he's too good.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones has had an incredible rookie year. I did not see that coming. I wasn't a big fan of Mac Jones out of the draft. I'm very surprised to see the way he's done. He's been an incredible replacement for Tom Brady. I mean, he's not Tom Brady, but he's been good enough to win them a lot of ball games.
Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady in his first year.
That's true.
By name only.
No, I mean, and Peyton Manning, he was horrible his first few years as quarterback.
He went 3-13 and threw 28 interceptions his first year.
Yeah.
And then next year they went 13-3.
That's true. Yeah, he did turn it around. But
Peyton Manning is my favorite quarterback of all time.
Took him like 6 years to win a playoff game. Something like that.
Yeah,
so.
And people hate on Lamar.
Right. He won one in
get the F
way
out of
less.
Here. Yeah. Then tomorrow you got Cowboys-Eagles meeting for a third time. You have
Cowboys will blow them out.
Yeah,
I think that's the easiest game of the week for any team.
You know what? It's not Cowboys-Eagles. It's Cowboys-49ers.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow. I still think the Cowboys are going to win that game. You got Bucks-Eagles. Tomorrow.
I was thinking the Bucks are going to blow them out. I was looking at the schedule earlier and thinking the Eagles were going to get blown out. The Bucks are going to destroy them.
Bucks-Eagles. It's Cowboys-49ers. And then what's the other game? It's Steelers-Chiefs.
Steelers-Chiefs. Yeah, it's not a good game either. I
think the Steelers will keep it a little bit more interesting, but the Chiefs are going to pull away in the second half.
actually don't. I don't see the Steelers even being in this game from the snap. I think this game is going to be a blowout, similar to the Eagles game.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. So I think that we can agree we're going to take the Chiefs. I think
Yes.
the Cowboys are going to blow out the 49ers.
Agreed.
Agreed. And I'm going to take the Eagles over the Buccaneers. It's Tom. I can't. It's Tom Brady. I can't take Jalen Hurts over Tom Brady.
There's no way Tom Brady doesn't win that game.
Right. But even without all those players,
right.
It's Tom freaking Brady.
Right. Even without AB now. I mean,
but I'll tell you, in 2009, Joe Flacco beat Tom Brady.
He did.
In the playoffs, and then he did it again in 2012.
And if Leo, no, I don't want to talk about him.
Or Billy Condon.
I don't want to talk about Leo.
We have a different name for him in my house.
Oh, nice.
And then another matchup for the third time this year on Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night playoff game, Rams-Cardinals.
I think that's the best game of the whole week. I think Rams-Cardinals is a perfect matchup. Cardinals looked really good to start the year, and then they kind of fell off a little bit, probably because Kyler was injured for like 4 weeks. But I'm going to go Rams.
And they still lost a couple games in a row with Kyler.
They did, right. I'm going to go Rams.
Rams are beat up.
They are.
They're beat up.
They are. But I don't think Kyler looked the same.
It's in L.A., and I think the Rams have playoff pedigree. And the other thing about the Rams, man, is that they've given away, they've literally mortgaged their
all
future.
of their draft picks.
They
it's
have
gone.
like nothing for the next for a considerable amount of time.
Right.
If you lose in the first round to a division rival in the playoffs after doing everything you did, how do you live with yourself? I got to take the Rams. I think it's going to be close, but I also look at the fact that the Rams beat the Cardinals when they had Kyler Murray, and the Rams were so depleted. They had like nobody. They were so beat up, and they still won that game. So I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's going to be the best game of the week, though. I think it could be like a 35-34 or something crazy like that. It's going to be close, and both teams will come out firing on all cylinders. But I think the Chiefs game is going to be the worst one of the week. Chiefs-Steelers is just not competitive.
Yeah,
I
think Chiefs are favored by 12.5 in that game.
Patrick Mahomes is playing at an unbelievable level right now. The entire Chiefs team is playing at an unbelievable level. They're gonna win that game.
It's crazy, man, because normally, like, I have to work tonight. Normally, like, right when that game kicks off, that first game today. Normally, I'd take off on a Saturday during playoffs, and because I love to sit there and just watch playoff football all
That's
day.
what I'm planning to do.
But the money's too good at the restaurant right now.
Yeah.
I need it. I got a bunch of stuff coming up. I can't do it.
It's not the Ravens, so
yeah. But even when it is the Ravens,
still enjoy it.
I still take off on a Saturday to watch the game.
Sure.
So I'm going to be watching from the restaurant, or maybe I'll just record the games and watch them when I get home afterwards. But either way, really looking forward to the playoffs as I do every year, guys. That's going to do it for us here on the Bat Around. Thanks to our sponsors. Thank you to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment, and thank you to Nathan Ruiz from the Baltimore Sun on a busy Saturday with the international signing period starting today for taking a few minutes to talk with us today. Thank you to our fans, our listeners, our audience for tuning in to the Bat Around